Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting week of Squadron Air-to-Air League. This is week 29, pitting CNF versus TAW in a must-win for both teams to try and get as good a position as they can in Group A. Joel, you're here with me every week, but how excited are you about today's matchup between these two teams?
Pretty excited, as me and you were just kind of going over some of the numbers and the statistics on this whole thing and what we have here in front of us today. It really shapes up nicely. There's a lot of ramifications, a lot of possibilities from today's matchup. So I'm excited to see what we're going to get from these two squads.
So if we look at and if you guys don't know, you can go to splash1gaming.com/merge to get all of the updated stats on all the teams, all of the player statistics, all the pilots, everything. I'm just going to go ahead and post that into chat right now. But right now, the matchup today is between TAW and Chinese Festival. I know it shows 104th is in second place, but they are actually in, and I'm just going to try and make this so that everybody can see it real quick. Let's do it like that. And then... Sorry, guys, just changing some stuff here. This is the website. I know it shows that 104th is in second place, but they're actually not. They're actually in fourth place right now because the primary tiebreaker is kill to death ratio. So right now, TAW is in second place behind 51st. Chinese Festival is in third, and 104th brings up the rear. If you guys aren't familiar with how this whole thing shapes up, the top 4 teams from each bracket advance on into the end of the year tournament, which starts October 6th. So the bottom 2 teams get eliminated. None of these 2 teams competing today are in any danger of being eliminated. This is a battle purely for seeding at the end of the year tournament. So let's jump back into the talk show here. Again, huge matchup today. The winner almost surely is going to take second place if TAW decides to absolutely crush CNF, which I don't know that'll happen. I think both these teams are very evenly matched. Both of these teams are some of the best in their bracket. If they somehow crush CNF and get 12 kills and 1 death, they will leapfrog past 51st since they will have a better KD ratio. And that's how that'll all shake out. So Joel, do you have any more insight before we jump into the actual game view here?
Just a noted, there's a few of the top pilots from I believe the kill-death ratio from throughout the entire league might be flying in today's match. I'm not sure exactly who's being put out from each squad, but they both carry some of the better pilots in the entire league. So I think, like I said, we're going to see, I think, some of the better tactics we've probably seen in more recent weeks, and we could see some pretty good fireworks towards the end here.
Right.
I know we say that all the time, but I definitely think
do say that a lot. But I think
of it.
Today, TAW, we both know. Last time we saw them, I think they flew against 51st, and it was a close match between them. 51st eked it out. CNF, last time I think we saw them was against 51st, and they beat 51st. So
that's true.
Today could be and should be a very close matchup. So let's go ahead and jump into the game view here so you guys can see what's going on. But Zarma asked the question, why are we not doing a 1080p stream? The reason I'm not doing a 1080p stream is because we're able to lower the bit rate for people that have worse internet so that they can maintain a better picture fidelity. So on top of that, I'm able to provide you guys with a better picture with a lower bit rate running 720p. A lot of the top streamers, if you guys don't know, like Dr. Disrespect, Shroud, all those guys run at 720p 60. So that's what we're running here. It just provides more of the world with a more enterable and approachable stream for a better streaming experience, for lack of a better word. So let's make sure that both teams, everybody's in here. I think most guys are in here. I don't know what my camera's doing. Looks like I've got 6 guys from TAW and 5 currently from CNF. We did see a disconnect from one of the CNF guys. So not entirely sure what we're waiting on from them, but we should be getting started here soon.
I'm seeing 2 Mirage 2000s on the deck for TAW.
TAW notoriously takes a very mixed bag when they for what they're planning on flying. So we've got 3 F-15s for TAW, 2 Mirages, which usually when we see Mirages, we only see one, and it's usually Microvac's piloting the meme missile because that's what he likes to fly. And then bringing in the last airframe is a J-11. Now we'll have to see if that J-11 is taking R-77s. And then if we jump over to CNF, they too are taking a very mixed bag. No Mirages, but we are seeing F-15s. So we've got 2 F-15s currently, 2 Su-27s, and a Singleton J-11. So we're waiting to see what their 6th pilot is going to take. But right now, it is 2 F-15s and 3 flankers.
Interesting combination. I'm curious to see what these 2 Mirages could do and how that could really affect what we see here today. That's going to be interesting. I'm assuming those guys are going to be sticking near each other and hopefully trying to lure some guys out.
You know, something interesting too, not just the Mirages, but we're going to look at 505 here, and he's in a J-11, but there's no R-77s. So it's all ERs, 2 ETs. ETs in the past, we've kind of seen a mixture of how effective they are. They tend to be more effective in the non-realistic modeling that IR works through cloud cover because you can get the IR lock, but they can't see the smoked missile launch. So they're much more effective because you don't get the missile warning from the IR missiles. So the guy has no idea that they're coming. But the J-11s, at least for CNF, Chinese Festival, don't look like they're taking R-77s. And in the past matchups, we've seen, and people have been excited about the R-77 coming into the fray, but we've seen the R-77 take a lackluster effect on the outcomes of all these SATAL matches. We were all excited, but they haven't done much, for lack of a better words here.
That's a very, very valid point.
So let's jump over and see what TAW is taking down here at Senaki. Let's see if we can find their J-11. Let's see what Squirrels has on his plane here.
Do we know the status of GCI for either team?
We don't. I'm going to assume that both teams have it, since both teams should have enough pilots, but I don't have a way to check it, unfortunately.
No worries.
Squirrels for TAW is taking 2 R-77s. So we've got R-77s coming from TAW, and we have all ERs, or at least at this point, coming from CNF. So we're still waiting. Looks like CNF is ready. Then make sure that they're ready. Then we'll give the spool command, and we'll get this show on the road.
Awesome. Curious to see what TAW's formation is going to be at the gate with the mix of planes they have.
Well, I'm curious to see what both teams are going to do. When CNF flew against 51st, they took a very defensive stance against 51st. We saw them effectively outweight 51st. At the end of the match, 51st was running out of fuel. They were running out of countermeasures. They were really running out of everything, and CNF had put themselves in a very advantageous position in that they still had countermeasures, they still had fuel, they still had more than enough weapons, and on top of all of that, the biggest advantage that they maintained through the whole thing was they had more altitude. They were able to maintain their altitude throughout that fight. So we'll have to see if CNF is able to maintain that advantage during this matchup like they did against 51st, or if TAW is able to take it to them for there. So Svenderst, quick update on Heatblur. There was some confusion on Heatblur. They weren't going to be able to make it, but Cobra is going to be able to make it. I don't know how long he's going to be here for. We are doing a module giveaway. I just don't know if a QA is happening. If it does, I have no idea how long it is going to be. So the module giveaway should happen at this point. However, I don't know how long the QA is going to be. So expect a longer QA if there is a shortened QA time today to take place either next week or during the actual tournament sometime in October. So both teams say they're ready. Give the spool and taxi, so both teams should be spooling and taxiing, and we can finally get week 29 here underway and on the road.
We got that feet wet, feet dry scenario here with the airbase layout, which should be interesting to see whether guys try to draw out to the water. I know I saw Microvax doing a lot of that in that Mirage 2000. I think that in some ways was to his advantage, staying high over the water.
Do you think that the feet wet is going to play any part in this? I mean, it looks like we're kind of far enough away, especially since Bullseye is just northeast of Godada. Do you think that it's going to be any type of factor here, or you think we're going to take most of this fight's going to take place over the mountain peaks?
Well, traditionally, at least from my experience on here, which is very limited, it seems like when we get this similar layout here, you almost get it split in 4 ways, you know, from top to bottom and right to left, right around the Sukhumi area. And it seems like, you know, the team coming out of Maycop retreats north of Sukhumi or northwest of Sukhumi, and the other team southeast, and kind of tries to regroup. So it ends up kind of being a little bit split over both here, but you generally get the feeling some fighters try to drag guys out to the water. So we'll see if we see any of that. And the altitudes get low, that definitely gets interesting. But interesting point, you brought it before. I learned week in, week out that the altitude advantage is one of the more paramount advantages to have in this whole fight. So be curious to see what team does a better job of maintaining that altitude advantage throughout the fight today.
Yeah, a lot of people discount the altitude, but it not only gives you more energy, it gives your missiles more energy, and on top of that, it gives you a look down, shoot down ability, because if they take the fight into the mountains, you're in a much better position to be able to see over those mountain peaks, to be able to see them trying to hide in the valleys.
Indeed. The terrain plays much less of a role in determining what you're able to see at that altitude. There's no doubt about it. And to answer your question, it looks like the Mirage 2000s today for TAW are piloted by Savior and Zen. And they look to be split up into 1-4 flights with the 15s and the J11, and then 1-2 flight with the Mirage 2000s.
That could be solely based on how they taxied, but we'll have to see how their formations shake out after they depart here out of Sanaki. We're waiting on, guys, I know a lot of you guys are anxious to get this underway and anxious to have Heatblur on, but we're waiting on one of the CNF guys. He disconnected. I see him having reconnected. We're just waiting on him taking his aircraft and reslotting, and then I think CNF will be taxiing. And real quick, while we've got a little bit of a downtime, let's catch up on all of the follows we've gotten so far. We've gotten a bunch. Sig, Rudel, Dougie C, Steve, 1980, Seven Dust, Shifty Mover, Fury, Adela, Mags, Knuck, Master of Unicorns, Kirpicon, Yunu, 1208, Crewbarks, Widowmaker, Maxtiv, Fredix, Baskins, Weta, and Juan. All thanks for the follows, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the show. It's always fun. I thought I would get sick of all of these casts. I think Joel probably thought the same thing, especially after doing 29 of them, 30 after next week with RB and SF, which, if you guys haven't followed the league at all, next week is just as big of a match as this week for seeding and seeing how everything shakes out. So make sure you check out next week. But I thought I was going to be sick of all of these matchups and sick of casting all of this. But honestly, Saturday mornings, 1300 Zulu, because it's 8 o'clock my time, is what I look forward to all week.
Indeed, same here. It really has become something I look forward to all week, and you know, I learn a lot, and that's a lot to be said for those of you who are out there watching. You know, there's a lot to be learned here for guys who are just getting into DCS, and if you sit here and watch and pay attention, you can pick up on a lot of little tips that can make you better when you go on to that multiplayer server, or even just playing, you know, in your own single player scenarios. I think there's a lot of, you know, good air-to-air combat tactics you can pick up from watching.
So while we're waiting on CNF to get ready, let's go see if we can catch them taxiing up here at Maycop. Looks like they're starting to taxi, and they're going to be departing on runway 22.
Yes, there will be a real-time TAC view. I'm not sure if Moltar can smash out the link for that TAC view
TAC
channel.
view should be up. If you guys look, it may just not be in the game. are in the DCS World game. Can you check that for me, Joel? I'm running the camera,
Certainly.
but it should be under the channel name of DCS World Events 2 is the channel it should be on. Is that the channel it's on?
It's DCS World Events 2. Give me one moment, and I will post that in here.
Let me check where it is at right now. Give me 1 second. It may just be that it's broadcasting to the wrong Twitch channel. I think that's what the problem is, guys. So uno momento, and we will get this fixed here. All right, that should be fixed. Sorry about that, guys. We should be, live TAC view should be going up. Should be on the DCS World Events 2 channel. You guys should be able to watch both streams at the same time. You guys can use something like multi-stream to put them both on the same screen, or you can run 2 different windows and put them next to each other. But we've got a live TAC view. Both the live stream and the TAC view are both on 30-second delays, so don't worry about people getting any of the competing teams get any type of advantage from us running the live TAC view. 30 seconds in air combat is an eternity, and they have lot ATC anyway, so it's not really affecting too much, but it gives you guys a more overarching picture and more information on what's going on. Just watching CNF Taxi. Looks like TAW's ready to go. USMCTYR, I have no idea how to pronounce your name. What's the keyword? We're waiting on Heatblur to join, which could happen at any time. I'm going to guess sometime around 1400 Zulu, but we're just waiting. Cobra's going to join us to give away a Tomcat module. Not entirely sure when exactly that's going to take place, but it could be at any point. That's when the keyword will be given out. So let's retouch on what CNF has, because when we talked about what they were taking, they only had 5 pilots. It looks like they've added another F-15 to their arsenal, so they are 3 F-15s and 3 flankers. While if we retouch on TAW, they are 3 F-15s, 2 Mirages, and 1 flanker. Tyrak, I'll say it, and it'll also be written in chat. And yeah, you just type it in, like most giveaways on Twitch. So TAW's ready, just waiting to see if CNF's ready. I'm excited about this one, Joel. I'm ready.
I am too. I think we got ourselves a really good matchup. And once again, the implications of today, I think this is probably to date at least in the last 5 to 6 weeks, had the biggest implications of any matchup we've casted. So this should be entertaining. A lot of different ramifications based upon what happened. And I believe is it Chinese Festival or is it TAW that if they don't lose a fighter, or if they only lose 1 fighter, they could jump up past 104th, correct?
That is correct. If they only lose 1, so that if their KD for today's match is 12-1, they will leapfrog past 104 or 51st and
That's
take
right.
first place.
So opportunity, and that was TAW, right?
Yes.
Or no, I'm sorry, that was TAW. So big opportunity here for them to come out and really put the stuff on and take that top spot with, which is going to really make life easy coming to the playoff time. So we'll see what they can do here. You know, if that's at the forefront or whether they're just coming out playing their game today.
So we can see CNF departing out of here at Makeup. It's kind of cool to see the 3 F-15s departing first and the 3 trailing flankers departing together.
Indeed. And we have some interesting stuff going on down here with TAW. They are... it does look like they're splitting up Mirage 2000, and then 2 of the 15s in a J11 look like they are grouping up as well, but all 3 flights heading in very different headings right now.
Just watching the C-27s depart. What were you saying down there about TAW? Let's jump to the map.
It's an interesting formation here. The 2 2000s are off and the 2 15s are off in separate pairs, spaced out by about a few miles. The J11 and the 15 have now circled back and are flying southeast of Sanaki right now.
Now, you weren't kidding. This is a very interesting setup.
At one point, they were all headed in 3 separate headings, but now those 2 seem to have come headed towards hot on the CNF fighters off in the distance. But I'm curious what these others, it looks like they're just getting a little bit of spacing here to cover the rear, that 3rd flight. So interesting, they're letting the Mirage 2000 pair, come in on that first attack wave, I guess you could say, and then it looks like the 15 and the J11 are going to try to back those guys up.
So we do have TAW still in 3-2 ships, while if we look up here at CNF, they're still more or less clumped together. So a little bit different approaches coming from both teams here.
Yeah, this is different. I'm curious how CNF is going to react to this.
And it looks like I was... Sorry to interrupt. It looks like I was corrected by somebody, one of the guys in 51st who run the event, that TAW would actually need to go 12-0 in order to leapfrog 51st into first place. So you guys in chat are more than welcome to check our work on the KD ratio, but that's what I've been corrected at this point.
Interesting. Well, either way, tall order for TAW to be able to pull that off, but certainly not impossible. However, I think Chinese Festival has a little bit to say in the matter, and I get the feeling they're not going to go quietly into the night on that.
I don't think so either, especially if they take the same defensive approach that they took during 51st, or with 51st. Yep. We're probably going to see very similar outcomes where the match is drawn out. Sorry, just responding to somebody.
No, it definitely seemed like Chinese Festival really came and played their tactics as tight as they could in that matchup versus 51st we saw previously. And like you alluded to earlier, I think that was really one of the deciding factors, was the discipline on Chinese Festival. So I get the feeling we're going to see more of that today.
That's what I would like to see today. And I think if they're able to do the same thing that they did when they flew against 51st, they stand a much better chance of taking TAW out and being able to come out on top.
I would agree with that. And we're certainly getting close. And now we have 3 distinct... The 2 Mirage 2000s have fallen in line behind, or in the middle of the 2 F-15 and F-15/J11 flights for TAW. And it looks like we're getting a little bit more separation now from CNF with a main 3 flight and the very tightly grouped main 3 flight with a much more spaced out group behind them, looking like they're in position to cover.
So effectively, TAW has come into a traditional 2 ships trailing behind one another, and we still go up here and look at CNF, and everybody is still very clumped together. So Tarkov says this is a cockpit view only without external view, I assume. Yes, that is correct. So the pilots are only able to see in their cockpits. There are no, in the F10 map, you can't see yourself. It is a very realistic, or as close to real to life as we can get. There's no waypoint markers, there's no anything. So there's no aids or handicaps in here. It's all on the pilot to do what they can. They do have GCIs running lot ATC, so that's what it is. Rage says the TAC view is zoomed in. It is zoomed in for the time being, just because I don't have time to flip back and forth between everything. We're going to see them as they ingress towards Bullseye, and I will finagle and get it more accurate as we get closer to Bullseye and as we the fight gets closer to going live.
Awesome, and we are getting pretty close here now. It looks like teams are within about 80 nautical miles of each other.
So we do see TAW, and I'm checking their altitudes now. TAW is really high. All of my stuff today, gents, is going to be in metric, so take that for what you will. But the two F-15s, TAW and Red Core, are passing 13,000. So they are very high in comparison to what we've seen a lot of guys do in the past in any of these matchups.
Yeah, a couple planes in the 40s. It looks like the Mirages are a little lower, though, still below 30. And the other planes, all other aircraft look to be above 40,000 for TAW.
So we're getting closer here. Separation between the two teams is down to 120 kilometers. So we are getting closer to the fight being on here. Sorry, guys. Just trying to get the TAC view so I can zoom or adjust this a little bit. Guys, look like you can see them now.
And we got some interesting maneuvering here from the first three flight for CNF. 227s and a J11 look to be breaking off towards the coast right now.
And I think this is they're pushing themselves into a wall formation, which is what we've seen in the past. I'm gonna keep using the 51st match as an example, but they put themselves in a 3-ship wall followed by another 3-ship wall, and that's my assumption, at least, to what we are going to see today.
And it looks like, yeah, that first three flight is now cycling back to be able to cover the egress of this main flight. And now it looks like the initial two flight of 15s from TAW has done a similar maneuver. And we now see the CNF 3 flight of 15s begin to spread out and form that line you were just talking about.
Yeah. And that 3-ship wall allows them to be very defensive, because when they turn cold, if they can maintain their shape, it allows them to always have multiple friendlies to run back to.
Indeed. Here we go. This is certainly shaping up to be a textbook CNF matchup here.
So separation now is down to 80 kilometers. Getting closer to getting this fight on. And it looks like TAW may be trying to drag this fight down to the south. But now TAW, not just the lead 2-ship of F-15s, but the 2-ship of Mirages, Savior and Zen, is also now cold. So the only remaining hot friendlies for TAW is Squirrels and Alpha Row.
This is interesting here, and they seem like they are aiming for the more, well, tough to tell at this point.
Well, and if we zoom in here, I can see that, at least I'm assuming, that TAW can see the enemy markings coming from the CNF leading 3-ship as they ingress here.
Indeed.
But it's still just the 2 friendlies from TAW of Squirrels and Alpha Row that are maintaining hot, while the other 4 friendlies of Newbie, Red Core 6, Savior, and Zen are all still cold.
Interesting. And now that initial 15 flight or initial flight from TAW is now turning back. And we have 6 aircraft from Chinese Festival hot on this group from above. This certainly looks interesting right now.
Did I just lose 2 of the... Oh, there they are. Never mind. So we've got 6 hot guys coming from CNF, and we have 6 cold guys coming from TAW.
And now they are just starting to make their turns back around here. And I think we are moments away from our first shot. Get the feeling. Very good formation from CNF.
Yeah, the CNF is always very organized, and they're very disciplined in their approaches in here and maintaining this 3-ship separation that they've got going on.
Covering a lot of airspace right now. You know, you look at the size of that group and how much area they are commanding. It's certainly to their benefit.
Now the lead 2 ship from TAW is now turned cold, and we have the 4 ship that was cold from TAW is now hot. So the 2 F-15s and the 2 Mirages have now turned hot and are headed straight for the main element of CNF. So separation is now down to 48 kilometers.
And this seems like the second time that TAW has kind of turned and reset themselves hot here. Now it definitely looks like the distance has closed itself, and seems like there we go. Red Core 6 firing a 120. First shot.
So that's the first missiles off the rail. Red Core breaking the stalemate with the 120B off the rail. Immediately turns cold. That looks to be on 405. He's still staying hot. No, he is definitely turning cold. He's in a split S now, should be notching that missile vertically, and that missile should be effectively dead. And this is what I like about CNF. So instead of 101, who is 405's wingman, same with 909, instead of them staying hot, they stay disciplined and turn cold with 405 since he had to defend that 120B that came off, I think it was Red Core.
Yeah, it's very impressive to watch them work. It's almost synchronized in a way that you can see it from above, to where the moment one ship starts turning, you can see the other 2 immediately start pulling into that turn. And now they have the other 3 covering the egress, and they are now swapping spots almost effectively. And we're seeing it in a much tighter variation and with a little bit different on the formation side and the groupings, but interesting to see how TAW is kind of using a similar tactic here, but differently.
So long ER coming off the rails from what I think is Squirrels. AIM 7 coming off from Alpha Rho. Not sure what those missiles are going to accomplish. Alpha Rho actually almost ate a friendly ER as he was turning cold in front of his friendly Su-27. But both teams look to be playing very defensive. Nobody wants to ingress, get too aggressive, and, you know, dive bomb into the enemy lines. Alpha Rho and Squirrels had all of the bandits cold and decided, hey, we better maintain our shape. Let's turn cold and stick with the rest of our flight here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some composure from both these teams today. They've shown in the past they have the ability to do so, and we're certainly seeing that here today. Definitely think we're going to see a lot of calculated decisions and maneuvers here on a squad level. Now we have all 6 CNF fighters cold.
And it looks like we've got just a couple of the TAW guys recommitting. Watching 801 here, egress away from the AO still.
I'd like to see TAW spread themselves out a little bit more. I feel like they're staying close in right now, and that if they lose 1 or 2, that could end up being a problem. Just trying to combat with how spread out CNF is at the moment. Really haven't seen these Mirage 2000s play a factor in it yet. I don't think. Although these a lot of altitude being regained right now by those guys. They're low, below 10,000 at the moment, but climbing.
So now we still have, well, it looks like the lead 3 ship for CNF is turned hot, and everyone from the TAW side of things is hot now. So we've got a 3v6 effectively until we see one of the remaining 3 ship from CNF turn hot.
Is this Squirrels going low through the mountains here? He's now I think he's starting to climb. It looked like he may have hit one of those valleys there and tried to stay low and hidden.
Squirrels is definitely still low. He's maintaining or trying to take a very low approach here and see if he can, what I can assume is try and sneak up on the CNF flight.
Interesting decision right there. This is we talk about this. We talk about, will the mountains in the elevation get used to try to hide somebody and maneuver? And here we go. Squirrel's taking advantage of that high mountain range there and looking like he's trying to pull out to the outside. I'm curious whether 909 is going to sniff this out, though. Once again, the GCI is being a factor here. Whether they're able to pick up on Squirrel's movement is interesting. It looks like we got a pair of 7s out here too.
You know, and that is something that is strongly dismissed, is the effectiveness of the GCIs in these matchups.
Agreed.
Now, again, we don't know if either team has a GCI. We can just make the assumption that both teams do have a guy running a lot of ATC. So we may have our first closer engagement here as 405 and Newbie come head-to-head. 405 is now defending, but will that 120B be any factor? Will it have enough energy to get to him as he split S's? I see it. It flew right by him. He must have notched it right there at the very last second. That missed him by meters as he came in there. I mean, feet.
I get the impression he knew his timing on that one.
He either knew his timing or he got really lucky as he was trying to defend that missile. And all accounts to me, 405 should be dead. No questions asked.
Escaping.
I thought that one had him.
From above, it looked like it. I mean, I wasn't looking at it in the game view, but it certainly was hot on him from above.
Now, something I do want to point out is this match seems to be playing out, and again, this is the only experience that I have here, not experience, but example I have here, very similar to how the 51st match choked out here. And what I mean is that... Did we lose somebody? Squirrels crashed. So he was flying low, but it looks like he was flying a little too low and flew into a mountain. Back to my example is, it looks like TAW is staying low. They're not trying to get their altitude back. And Alpha Rose got an ET on him. Does he know it's coming? He does. He is shitting out flares like nobody's business. It's like he ate too much hot food, and then the next day his stomach's just like, oh no.
No doubt about it. He got himself out of that one.
He's got another ET coming from 505. Does he know that one's coming? I don't think he does. He's staying flat. That ET's going to eat him for lunch. And there it is.
Boom goes the dynamite. He is gone.
And he gets splashed. He's still up. He's still flying. Is he dead?
It certainly
I can't tell. It definitely hit him.
He's end of the speeds there, so he may have gotten lucky with the fact that missile was starting to lose momentum.
Well, he's definitely dead. I mean, the game sees him as dead. The question is he actually dead? So 2 guys, theoretically, I'm not sure about the last one, get splashed on the TAW side. 6 still remaining from CNF.
I'm curious what our missile count with these Mirages is. I haven't noticed them fire too much.
But TAW staying low and being a little too aggressive. And when you're low, you lose your situational awareness, especially in the mountains. You're not able to maintain where everybody is. Where on the opposite side of things, if you're high, you have that look down, shoot down ability. We may see our first close-in engagement here between 405 and Red Core, and we see over here Newbie's got a 120B on him. It looks like he's defending now, so that should be a non-factor. And Red Core 6 is now turned cold. So all the missiles fired in that engagement between 405, Red Core, and Newbie are effectively dead as all the bandits turn cold. Red Core looks, though, like he's turning back in and may be able to take the fight to 101 if he's able to establish situational awareness when he turns back in hot. Nah, it's going to be a little hard with how low he's flying here.
So we lost a Chinese festival fighter?
We did.
I'm counting 5.
I guess Red Core got somebody. I missed it.
Yes, indeed. And now, I feel like now's the time for Chinese Festival to push in. I thought they had the numbers.
Newbie's going to be in trouble. Is he going to line of sight that missile? No. He gets splashed. And Savior's in a decent position to flank 101 here. Is he going to be able to do anything about
turn.
it? He is all over the 6.
801 turning back around now to commit on.
Come on, you've got the shot. Take it. He's dead if you take the shot. There it is. Is it going to catch him? He jettisons his tanks. That was a magic. And splash. Boom goes the dynamite. There goes another one. Getting splashed, but Savior's in a world of hurt, so that ends up being a trade, and we have one pilot remaining for the TAW side. Red Core 6, all by his lonesome.
He gets a 9 out on 909.
That 909 could be in trouble here. I think he's going to line aside it, though. And I think he did. Red Core is in a world of trouble. That ER is going to eat him for lunch. Ooh. He's dead. Is he dead? No. It missed him, and he puts 120 Bs out all over the place. He splashes one. Man, he's a one-man army here. Oh, there's actually 2 left for TAW. It's 2v2. Red Core 6, though, is in trouble as 909 comes in on his 6. I don't think they see each other yet. Does Red Core see 909? They're merged. 909 definitely sees him.
Whoa, man. Looks like he's overshooting.
There's the overshoot. Does he bring it back?
801 looking like he's about to commit on this. I don't know, too close right now for him to possibly get an IR shot.
We see some guns hits coming from Red Core 6. It looks like he doesn't have any sidewinders. More guns hits coming on the top. Oh, he splashes him. We're down to a 2v1. Zen and Red Core.
Out of
530D coming on 801. Is TAW going to be able to bring it back? Splash! Holy crap! They ended up doing it. What a change of events here. Wow. TAW bringing it back from the brink. Holy shit, I never saw that one coming in a million years. That was amazing.
Oh. These two guys still got to make it back. Let's see what they burn just trying to keep it together there in the final moments of that. But boy, that has to be one of the best finishes we've seen in a long time.
That was... I don't even know what to say about that. That was amazing. Guys, sorry if I got a little loud there, but that was exciting. From when shit hit the fan, I had no idea how that was going to go. And it went the complete opposite.
Credit to Red Core.
Holy crap. Red Core.
Composure when he was surrounded by, I think at one point, 3 to 4 red aircraft. What did he hosed at least 1 or 2 himself there, if not 3.
That was... Oh, man. That was amazing.
And the chat goes wild.
That was an incredible matchup there, guys. And I'm sorry that the TAC view got a little bit out of sorts there, but my mind was focused solely on the stream and trying to get the camera work to get so you guys could see what was going on. That was intense.
I really thought TAW was out.
I thought so too. That was impressive.
That was impressive indeed. No doubt about it.
So they still have to make it back to Sanaki. They've got 180 clicks to go. So they've got a ways. But I see Red Core 6 is at full mill 95%. So I think they're going to have the fuel to go back.
Yeah, as long as one of them lands correct, they will get the win for this round.
But chat, what do you guys think? That was impressive. In my opinion, that was the most action-packed round or action-packed couple minutes we have seen all year. That was...
Yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. I mean, just to watch that take place the way it did was impressive fighting from TAW to not lose the momentum. They lost the momentum there and were somehow still able to grab it back before it got too far away from them and really flip that over their head. I think when Chinese Festival lost those 2 guys in a matter of, I think, 20 to 15 seconds there, that had to have spooked some guys on the other side, you know, the remaining few at least.
You know, I guess, but that was... I don't know how Red Core did that. I have no idea how he was able to pull that out of his ass. I mean, how many did he splash there? How many kills does he have? Red Core has 4 kills. I didn't catch him throughout the entire match.
How many?
4.
4. Wow.
4.
What a round right there. Almost had an ace
just
flight.
Single-handedly dismantled the CNF side.
talk about putting the team on your back right there. That was a round to be remembered, no doubt about it. Hopefully they can continue that momentum heading into round 2 here. But I you got to think Chinese Festival is left standing going, what just happened there?
Well, and Rage brings up a good point in the chat there that CNF could have very well put themselves at a serious disadvantage when they decided to merge with 3 tanks on their F-15s. Because we saw multiple times, I think at least twice, when they got into the merge and after they were in a very poor position, we saw the tanks come off from the F-15s. So I think Rage brings up an excellent point that you seriously diminish, even if the tanks are empty, the turning ability, supposedly, of the F-15 when you're trying to maneuver in BFM with the tanks on.
I think we've stated here before that's about a 30% reduction in mobility due to drag.
I don't know what it is, but not just in drag, not just in airspeed, but your added weight seriously affects your turning performance.
And it certainly seemed like possibly some of those fighters coming around the corner there trying to get that shot out before Red Corps did, they just didn't seem to have the turning ability to do it. So that very well may have played a factor into it. Because I saw one of the final shots out from CNF on Red Corps missed wide and real wide. So I'm going to be curious to see in TAC view a little bit more information there as to maybe why that shot.
Yeah, and we will.
Excuse me, whether it just didn't track or what happened, because I mean it had to have missed him from the elevation I was looking at by a half mile or maybe even a little bit less than that, 3/4 of a mile.
And guys, we will be revisiting the TAC view after this match, or after this round, so we're going to do that after each one of these rounds. Somebody, it was Distic, brought up a good point in chat. Where did that go? He asks, what does CNF and TAW stand for? CNF, for the CNF side, stands for Chinese Festival, and TAW stands for the Art of War. So, again, that match was amazing, and clutch performance coming from Red Corps 6, strapping the team to his back, carrying him to the finish line, 4 kills with at least 1 guns kill. That was, man.
Indeed. Yeah, we should start thinking about giving away a Man of the Match award. Not that the match is over yet by any stretch, but certainly would be the front runner for it right now with a performance like that. That is definitely one to remember.
So again, guys, they still have to make it back home, but it looks like they're going to be able to. Red Corps 6 is now at 90%. They're at 11,000 feet or meters. So even if they run out of fuel at this point, I think they're going to be okay. Are they inside 100 kilometers? They're at 100 kilometers. So at this point, they should be able to bring it back.
I didn't realize how far that got dragged north.
And it doesn't look like they're going to make them land. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the server here. Let me change the view. We're going to jump back to the talk show here.
Oh, that'll get your blood flowing on a Saturday morning right there.
Joel, if you don't mind while I'm doing this, getting everything set up, recap in your best ability what exactly took place during that matchup.
Well, I think we saw initially with the, somewhat unique formations coming out, we saw Chinese Festival really get into that 2 spread out lines supporting one another in 2 separate waves, one covering the other's attack and then egress and vice versa. I think we saw TAW fight things out a little bit tighter in the beginning. I think they struggled a little bit more early on to keep things a little organized as far as where the planes were in conjunction with each other. But seemed to not really affect things for them. They were able to kind of get in there and mix it up. And I thought I saw a lot of composure out of those guys in the Mirage 2000s to not fire their missiles in waste and really use those 4 shots they had when it counted. When Zen came up at the end there, I was honestly surprised. I was assuming he may have to come in and go for guns there just based upon how that match had went. But no, he had that mantra there, and that certainly was probably one of the bigger saving graces that he still had some ammo towards the end of that match there. But Chinese Festival definitely came out and I think played their game. But I do think the point that someone from chat pointed out earlier involving the bags, if they did have those bags going in there, that definitely could have played a pretty big part into their effectiveness in the final moments of that fight.
Almost got the TAC view set up, and indeed we do now. So let's
be curious to see what is going to change in this next round on either side. Does TAW come out and keep doing what they're doing, put Red Core at the front and let him shoot and hope for the best? Because certainly he's got the hot hand right now, no doubt about it.
So let's jump real quick to TAC view here, and let's see how this whole thing shook out. So jump into the action. See if I can get this centered up for you guys. Looks to be pretty centered up. So the interesting, or what we thought was an interesting formation coming in from TAW just kind of disintegrated as they came in close to the engagement. Oh, hold on. CNF was able to maintain a much better disciplined approach at the beginning of this match. I don't know what happened as the match progressed. Maybe they thought they had it and they just kind of started lollygagging or playing a little, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, having a brain fart, just lax, for lack of a better word. But
I think that fits.
That's definitely what it seemed like happened. But even up to this point, where we're a decent way into the match here, or to the round, TAW's still pretty disciplined, or not TAW, CNF is still pretty disciplined with their 3-ship, and TAW effectively at this point, we're at 43 minutes into the match here, which unfortunately isn't an accurate depiction because the server had been up for a while, but TAW effectively is just in a 6-ship wall. And actually, at this point in the round, they've lost Squirrels. I'm not sure if he just got too low and crashed or what happened, but right now it's a 5v6.
Interesting point there in that matchup is that they were able to do that with losing Squirrels effectively, so they almost fought that down a man, which is very interesting.
So here's Squirrels. We can actually see what happened. He just flew into the ground right there. He must have hit a tree.
Someone can see him. Chat said his game crashed. I'm not sure if they were affiliated with TAW or not. So that's
entirely possible. Especially when you're flying low, even if you have one hiccup. I mean, that's effectively all she wrote. So right now, TAW is down to a 5v6. We're going to keep progressing. They actually go down to a 4v6 here at some point. I'm trying to look for it, and it's right here. This is when Alpha Row gets hit by the ET from 505. So Alpha Row gets tunnel visioned on 707. He's decently close. He's what we would think to be within maybe 120B range, but 707 is cold, so I don't think a missile is going to reach out and touch him. But because he's tunnel visioned here, he doesn't see the ET coming from 505, who's at equal altitude with him off to his right, or his 2 o'clock. And he just eats the ET and gets taken down. So at this point, about halfway through the round after they took off, it's a 4v6, and I thought TAW was done. I thought this was it. This is all she wrote. You know, start singing your sad songs. TAW's going down at this point. But no, that's not what happened. So right here is the first, I think, CNF casualty. And it comes from Red Core, and CNF 405 just gets in too deep, and Red Core is able to really effectively notch this 120B. We can see that he's already in a notch. He's put a 120B in on 405. And 405, what happened there?
Interesting.
I don't know that he got hit. Maybe there's some discrepancies with TAC view. But it looks like he just blew up. But I think he got hit by a missile maybe we didn't see, or there is some desync. So then we see Newbie gets splashed, I think. Yeah, Newbie gets splashed by 101. And these splashes, we say this week in and week out, is just from these guys defending a little too late. So 101 comes in, puts a 120B on Newbie. Newbie puts an aim 9 at him, but he's too low, and 101 line of sights it. And Newbie at that point can't get into a notch quick enough and dies. But 101, though, gets in a little too deep, gets tunnel vision, and this is when Savior couldn't shoot. And Savior said he was in the wrong mode and couldn't fox. He eventually gets it off the rail, but by the time he gets it off the rail, he's dead meat 801. So he takes down his guy, but then he's dead to an ET from 801, and he's in too close and can't do anything about it. So this is where Red Core just says, fuck it. My name's Leroy. I'm doing this on my own. So he's in a pyramid. He's surrounded. He is in the triangle of death. surrounded by 505, 909, and 801. And 801, though he doesn't see him, is in a pretty decent position. But 909 and 505 definitely see him. They know where he's at. And Red Core at this point, he's up shit creek. And he definitely does not have a paddle. I mean, he's dead by all accounts for me. But somehow he's able to notch 505's missiles. Well, it's a 73, so he flares it. But at the same time, in exchange, 505 eats a 120. And this is the close range aim 120 conundrum. If you're in too close, you just can't defend it. You're just dead unless you can either line of sight it or shoot it down.
That was the one I was referring to there, that this missile right here that you just kind of hovered over seemed to be the one that missed him super wide there towards the end.
Oh, the AIM-9?
Is that what that was?
It's an AIM-9. Yeah, it just loses track.
That makes more sense.
So here, this is when 909 should have Red Core 6 dead. But again, Red Core, I don't know what happened here. I guess it was just an energy issue coming from 909, but 909 overshoots Red Core. Sorry about that. Let's back up here. 909 overshoots Red Core. He's got too much energy. Red Core is able to reverse the rolling scissors, comes in on his 6. There go the tank, or there goes something. There go fuel tanks from Red Core. I guess those are Red Core's fuel tanks. And by this point, sorry guys, it's guns on for Red Core, and he gets just decent hits on 909, and 909 goes down. So he's dispatched 2 in quick succession with another guy earlier, and now it's all that's remaining for the CNF side is 801. And 801 gets splashed by Zen from somebody he didn't see and just eats a Matra. And it's too close. The Matra has too much airspeed, and 801 just eats it. So I don't know how TAW was able to bring that a 4v6 back, but they did. And that was fucking amazing. It was, what a great round from TAW. Able to bring that back from the brink. And awesome work. Awesome, awesome work. Let's jump back into the round here.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch, no doubt about it. Entertainment to be had.
Entertainment is that word is too lax for this.
Controlled chaos.
Okay. So we're jumping into round 2, and I need to update the scores here. Nobody yell at me about the scoreboard. So we're in round 2. TAW took the first one. And we should watch probably TAW depart this time. But what do you think coming here, Joel, that CNF could have done better there? What do you think was their downfall going into this?
Well, I feel like when they did a very good job staying in formation and doing what they normally do for probably the first 85% of that match. And then it seems like towards the end, right about after the time they lost their first or maybe second fighter, that things really kind of started to crumble for them. I don't know if it was a communication thing or what it was, but they seemed to have TAW in their hands there, but they just couldn't do what needed to be done to seal the deal. So maybe, I'd like to see Chinese Festival do a little bit better job finishing the round out, because it seemed, like I said, they really had TAW by the balls there, and they could have finished that thing out, but just didn't do what they needed to do.
Yeah, I think what ended up happening and what ended up being CNF's downfall was they lost their discipline. So the discipline that they had maintained throughout the majority of that match just kind of dissipated, as what I can assume is they thought they had the match won.
Indeed. And you saw that moment where there's 3 Chinese Festival planes circling one blue or one TAW plane with the other Mirage 2000 much more to the south. And I remember in the moment thinking, okay, here we go. Where's the shot? And the shot just never seemed to come from any one of those planes. Now, maybe they just weren't all had not specifically found him at that point quickly enough. But you have to think at least one of those planes had good eyes on him in the center there, and it just kind of baffled why we didn't see a shot out. Now maybe we were looking at some low missile counts, but I don't think we saw enough firing to where that would have been the case with 3 fighters from Chinese Festival at that point.
Well, I think what ended up I'm going back to the altitude thing here, is when CNF beat 51st, they maintained their altitude advantage. But what ended up happening here is they sacrificed that altitude advantage. And because of that, in my opinion, TAW was able to somehow sneak in and get these kills and turn the tides from a 4v6 at the very end to a 2v1. And they were able to equalize it. So
the altitude, no doubt about it. You know, I feel like it's not the most glamorous aspect of things. It's in a lot of ways for people playing. It's, you know, you have to work to get up to that altitude. It takes effort. It's not as easy as just kind of flying straight to point. So I feel like it takes a lot more effort to maintain that and be conscious of it, but it pays dividends in the end when you do. When you are conscious of that altitude for the majority of your fight, you're just going to perform better.
Right. I agree with that. And guys, while we're waiting for everybody to go, I got a couple updates on things. Still organizing with Heatblur. I'm not sure what time they're going to be on. They are going to be on. I'm in constant contact with Cobra and Iron Mike. We're just trying to figure out when they're going to be on today. There's an update with Twitch and YouTube. I'm no longer going to be broadcasting on YouTube. The recordings are going to be on YouTube 24 hours after, but since I'm an affiliate with Twitch, I'm not supposed to stream to both, so I decided that I should stop just because I don't want the channel to be banned. So we're no more streaming to YouTube. If you want to watch, you got to be on Twitch. And while we're waiting again, still, shout outs to our sponsors. Without them, this really wouldn't be possible. Lot ATC, Dartman, for making this really possible, allowing us to use the best GCI that we can using your Lot ATC software. TACView, if you guys haven't used TACView before, you should. It's amazing. Briefing, you guys have it here, the live casts and stuff here in the stream. And of course, Heatblur. Man, without you guys, Heatblur, this wouldn't be possible. The excitement that you guys build with everything, the video you guys released last week with your A6 and the countdown, it's just awesome. So kudos to you. If you guys don't know, SATAL is kind of the first of its kind for DCS in its size of its prize pool. TACView generously donated 6 advanced licenses for the winners and 3 for runners-up, and Heatblur is doing 500 euros for the winners, 6 modules, whatever that may be, of the Viggen or F-14 for the winners, and 6 modules for runners-up. So, awesome. Sorry for interrupting you there.
Oh, no, you're fine. Well, a lot of 15s coming out. Are we seeing, actually, the same planes are going to be for both sides, correct? For those that are
They have to be the same planes.
Like myself.
So yeah, they have to take the same aircraft that they did in the first round. It's just, we don't want people to take different aircraft so that they can curtail their fighter selection based on what they think the other team is going to take.
No, I think that's fair. I don't think you should be able to switch that. You pick a plane, you fly that plane. No, that makes complete sense. Curious to see how TAW plays things a little differently coming from the north this time. Maybe see a little different formation tactics. Curious if whether we see Squirrels try to do what he was doing before, or whether that's been sniffed out now and he stays with the group. And you gotta think Chinese Festival's coming out a little angry after that last one, feeling like they had it and losing it. You know,
I think so too. And I think they just gotta maintain their altitude advantage going into this.
Yeah, I agree, and it's going to be something people probably will get tired of us talking about at some point. Maybe not, who knows? But the altitude.
And altitude isn't always great, but if you maintain your energy, man, I think if Chinese Festival had maintained their altitude, it would have been much more difficult for TAW to take that fight.
Oh yeah, if they had the altitude advantage there at the end for the 3 versus 2 portion, I think that would have ended up being in their favor. Just because I think with the combination of the Mirage 2000 and that, they just wouldn't have had enough to get up there and get them as quick as they probably would have needed to.
Yeah.
But that it takes a lot of situational awareness to be in that fight and constantly be saying to myself, "What's my altitude? I need more altitude." You know, that really is what that requires. You really have to put it at the forefront of your thought when you're fighting, and always be checking that and making sure you're at least bringing that into your situational awareness and routine of what you do to kind of stay in the fight. And what is Red Corps going to do this time? I think got a lot of
I don't
eyes on
know.
him
What
coming
is
into
the
this.
savior of the TAW universe going to be bringing? I don't know. Is he going to ride his green tiger into combat against Skeletor, the CNF side, like he did this time?
He's leading the group out. That's
I don't
for
know,
sure.
man.
They got him in the one spot.
Hey, guys, they just got confirmation that Heatblur will be on.
Awesome.
So
I think everyone's excited about that.
get excited. For anybody that's new, I'm sure we got a bunch of new faces in here. If you guys don't mind taking a few minutes, there's a survey in a panel down below. Just tell us what we're doing well, what we can improve on. Because in reality, SATAL isn't just for the teams competing, it's for the viewers. We wanted to create something that gave the viewers something exciting to watch. We thought that was something that DCS World was lacking. And I want to make this as good of an experience as we can for you guys, the viewers, to enjoy. So if you guys don't mind filling that out, please do. Check out any of the other stuff, the sponsor links and everything down below. I just hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. So
Absolutely. And
CNF is
stuff like that
ready.
survey.
TAW looks to be ready. Let's get this on the road.
Yeah, stuff like that survey really does help us get a better idea of how to make this better and more entertaining for you guys. You know, with your input is so valuable, I think, at the end of the day to creating a good experience here.
And while we're ingressing here, I do want to talk about some stuff with next year. So we talked about it a little bit last year. Elifro? I know I always say it Alpha Row. I'm sorry. That's my fault, Live Sim. I can't get all the names right. I do apologize for getting his name wrong, though. I'm sorry, Elif.
Yeah, I try myself, but I'm probably substantially worse than you are at it, so I apologize in advance if I'm botching things up here.
But back to the discussion on what about next year. We're starting to debate on what we want the format to be next year, and there's some debate on, you know, whether we want to go to a 4v4 to make the entry for newer squadrons and smaller squadrons more approachable, because 6v6, getting 6 pilots together can be a little bit difficult. So that's a question. What weapons loadouts do we want to do? Obviously, the more exciting stuff for a lot of this is when we get into merges, and actives aren't really conducive to that. Do we do something like a premiership league, where you have a premier league and then you have the lower feeder leagues, like a silver league and a bronze league, where you would be relegated from the premiership if you like place in the bottom 2, and then the top ones of the lower leagues would get bumped up into the premiership? Do we do something like that? Do we do a 6v6 for the higher league and then do a 4v4 for the lower leagues to make it more approachable for the low guys? Chat, what is your guys' ideas for how we can make this better? Because I personally would like this to be as many teams competing as possible, so that we don't just make this for the big multiplayer squadrons, we make this for the entire DCS community, where you don't have to worry about necessarily having to compete if you don't want to with the big boys that's all they do is multiplayer. You can compete against, you know, somebody that maybe takes it a little more casual like you do in like a bronze league or something. And that's nothing against any of those teams competing in a league. It depends on what some people want a more fun DCS experience instead of a more serious DCS experience. So what do you guys think about all that? Tarkov says splitting the event into non-FC3 planes. That's a little difficult just because there's not a lot of FC3 planes out there. While I like the idea, it's just really hard to do.
I feel like that kind of waters down the experience a little bit. I think, for the most part, those planes go against each other pretty well. We see it on the multiplayer servers all the time. I wouldn't say one has some sort of specific super advantage over the other one. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to who's flying these things and over most other factors involved. But, I like what you were just saying about, you come from that larger squad world, where I kind of have a little bit of a smaller group. We're not as really well organized. So that's really appealing to a lot of the guys I fly with, having the ability to go compete in something like this, but yet not having to join into something that maybe they don't have necessarily the time or energy to devote to.
Well, and I think that's where, in my opinion, the 4v4 makes it more approachable for guys that are just trying to get into it, because we've had some issues even this year with SATAL and just getting even the big squadrons with 6 guys in them. So the best leading idea that I have is maybe the Premier League runs a 6v6, for the guys that are taking it a little more serious, then you make it a little more approachable for the bronze and the silver leagues, where they're 4v4 and then if they want to move up and they place high in those leagues, they can move up to the 6v6. This is all on the table, so I really want the input of the viewership so we can know what you guys think is a good idea and what you think would be fun to watch. So we see these guys ingressing. CNF right now is in 2-3 ships, and TAW is in 3-2 ships. So we're seeing very similar ingresses from both teams, like we did in round 1.
My gut tells me we're going to see Chinese Festival stick with the game plan. They're going to split up into those 2 lines, and there's 2 walls, and support one another. It's just a matter of at what point are they going to create the separation and form the walls. I get the feeling we're not going to see a whole lot different as far as formations and approach from TAW either. I think what both teams did really worked effectively for each last time. It really just came down to the merge and what went down inside the merge. So I think, hopefully both teams bring it a little bit more than they did even the last time. Well, I don't know if Red Corps can bring it any more than they did on that last one, but I think we're going to see a very similar round that we saw the first time, which should be good for everybody.
Right. I agree there. I think we're going to see very similar situations here coming into round 2.
Yeah, you just get the feeling, that's Chinese Festival. That is what they do.
The question is, are they both teams going to stay more disciplined as the round progresses into the late game?
Correct. Which team lets up, and at the end of the day, what we're doing here, what these guys are doing here is, it comes down to who makes the most mistakes. I think at the end of the day, I think all of these squadrons competing in this, guys are out here doing this on a pretty frequent basis. It really comes down to who's going to make the most mistakes or who's going to do the most things wrong as opposed to who's going to do the things right.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And guys, going back into you guys are talking a lot about ideas and stuff for upcoming stuff. There are other events coming, so I'm trying to put together a dogfight league coming around the holiday time, around Xmas or Christmas, which I would like to take place on the Persian Gulf map over top of Dubai, so that you get that fight inside the buildings for guns and heaters, where you're fighting amongst skyscrapers coming into that. So that stuff is coming, and it's something that I'm excited about, doing like a 1v1, 2v2, or a 3v3. So don't be disheartened that this is all we're doing. It is definitely coming. Want to do other events outside of 6v6 or 4v4. We've got Persian Incident coming, which is going to be like a squadron style blue flag. We've got the gun stuff. There's other things that I'd like to do. So it is coming.
I'm really excited about the one you were just referring to. Just say the name for me one more time. Persian Incident.
So for all the old guys, Georgian Incident is actually what Blue Flag is based on. Came out a long time ago, but Persian Incident is a reinvigoration of that particular event. So it's going to take place on the Persian Gulf.
I'm probably most excited about that. I think that's going to be really entertaining, especially from our standpoint of what we kind of get to do here. We're going to be able to kind of zoom in on these little individual skirmishes and battles and stuff, and I think it's really going to provide some entertaining moments. I got a chance to watch you and I believe Maverick do that. Was it the helicopter event a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
And wow, was that entertaining to watch. I had a blast just watching that. So,
and there's actually another one coming on the 29th of this month. So Alpenwolf decided, hey, this was a good enough, big enough success. Let's do this again. And that's exactly what's going to happen here in a couple weeks.
And for those who haven't checked out the helicopters yet, I picked up that pack this week and I had 0 helo or DCS helo experience, and that turned out to be a ton of fun, way more than I was expecting.
So the teams now, separation between TAW and CNF is down to 73 kilometers, so we should see the fight getting underway here soon, and we're seeing exactly the same thing like we did before. We've got the trailing 4-ship coming at the back of TAW and the leading 2-ship of F-15s of Red Corps and Newbie leading the way. And now we can see CNF doing what they did last time of ingressing in their 3 2-ships.
It's impressive to watch them from above. The way they almost move in perfect synchronicity with each other is quite nice.
So, Durst to Fix, Blue Flag is actually based on an event that was run a long time ago called Georgian Incident. And it takes place a lot of the same way that Blue Flag does. They didn't have a lot of the scripting that Blue Flag does. That's where Blue Flag came from. We're going to take that, and effectively, we would like to take Blue Flag and make it a squadron-only event and make it highly organized. So there's nothing wrong with Blue Flag. I love Blue Flag. We're just going to change it a little slightly. But that's what we'd like to do. So the first missiles coming off the rails from Red Corps 6. I think he was the last guy, first guy, maybe Newbie, to put the first missile in the air, but he puts a 120B out on 101. 101 immediately split S's after he puts an AIM-7, which he decides, fuck it, I don't want to track that all the way, and that missile's dead after it comes off the rail.
We really get an idea for the difference in speed between the 120 and the 7 there. There's a substantial difference in the speed those missiles move.
So again, I really like the discipline that comes from CNF. This same thing happened in the first round. 101 turned cold, and then 909 and 405 turned cold with him instead of continuing to press without their center wingman. Keeping in shape is really important.
Sent that 2 flight up much further than they did last time. I mean, there seems like there is quite a bit, probably 20 nautical miles. I know you're in metric. Around probably around 40 miles of space in between the first flight and the other 4 coming into that, which seems unorthodox for them.
It's definitely possible, but I just like that they seem to turn cold at the correct time, and they're not overcommitting. There's still a serious separation between the two teams. It's about 40 kilometers. We can see Alpha Row and his wingman now pressing. But we still see that 3-ship stance coming from CNF as they ingress here.
Yeah, they're holding formation very well. Everybody is in very good position. I mean, you can almost probably draw the distances between everybody here. It's very evenly spaced.
ER coming off the rails from 707 and an ET coming from 505. One thing that I want to check, and indeed they are, CNF, and maybe they were last time, is maintaining their energy. So even though 909, 101, and 405 are continuing to take a cold heading away from the AO, they are climbing back to altitude. So even though they were low and they split est, they are now again passing a flight level of 9,000, coming up on 10,000 to maintain their energy as this flight progresses into now the mid-game.
Yeah, both sides seem to be doing a pretty good job of that. I'm watching these Mirages try to get back up there as well now. They see, I know they're going to probably have the biggest struggle in getting back up to altitude with the size of their engines in comparison. So that'll be something to look out for. Oh, actually, they're staying right around 10,000. It doesn't look like they're going to be climbing back up, which is interesting in itself.
And we can see the leading 3-ship from CNF is now turned cold, while the first CNF 3-ship to engage is now back in hot.
Yeah, we got the line change going on down here for CNF. And very similar, like we said, very similar. We got TAW very clustered up here in the mountains. And CNF doing their thing, staying very nicely spread apart.
Now, one thing I will say this time about TAW is they are maintaining their altitude much better than they did in the first round.
Yep.
However, as I say that, Squirrels is taking the same approach that he did in the first round and is now flying in the weeds. What I can assume is trying to get a flanking position on the CNF side. And there's actually a second low guy.
3 TAW,
3 low
30,
guys.
3 TAW, below 10, it looked like.
Yes.
So they're split up, which is interesting because what does CNF do? Does CNF send some fighters down? And here we go, more shots out. Red Core firing another one on 101, it looks like.
What I'd like to see is, does the altitude separation coming from TAW play a pivotal role in the sort that CNF is able to do? Is TAW, specifically Squirrel, Zen, and Savior, are they low enough to stay off of the LOT ATC guy's scope?
That is a good question here. Can they slide these guys underneath and come up from the bottom and possibly bite CNF where they're not expecting? Good possibility of that. Although I feel like the formation and the tactics that CNF run allow them to be able to spot that or sniff that out a little bit better, just based upon the spacing they have.
So 120B coming off the rails for 405, and what I can assume is Newbie, but he's immediately defensive after he puts a 120B back in exchange. So I don't think either of these are going to play any type of role. Looks like Newbie's trying to notch it. I think he's got it effectively. That missile's going to be dead by the time it reaches him, so that's not going to do anything. But
it looks like we're keeping about a 20-kilometer dead space here between the two groups. They kind of seem to go out in, fire a shot, and then retreat back out of that space.
But again, I'm coming back again to these low guys, Savior and Zen specifically. Squirrels is kind of out of the picture at the moment. Are they going to be able to do anything coming in here? And Newbie crashed. He died trying to defend that missile. So again, TAW, at some point, unknown, has put themselves at a disadvantage on their own. They haven't, I mean, yeah, he was defending a missile, but they've just lawn darted into the ground. And I don't, that's unfortunate.
Indeed it is. However, it seems like TAW, that's when they play their best, is when, they lose the man and now their backs are a little bit more pushed against the wall. As they say, the pressure forms diamonds, right?
Pressure forms diamonds. Unless you're creating artificial diamonds, which I guess is still pressure. But
fair point.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's still pressure. It's just, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that. ET's coming off from 801 and 707, and what I can assume is Alpha Row. Alpha Row says, I'm having none of that. I'm getting low, and those missiles are going to be out of energy by the time they reach him, unless he maintains his hot aspect. Is that missile? It is not tracking. So those missiles are dead.
5 TAW now. It seems like they've almost taken a similar formation. 3 across the front, 2 across the back. The 2 back guys backing up the outer wings with Alpha Row in the middle by himself. And they are pushing CNF right now. It seems like they are now trying to break up this formation.
Well, and I need to put a highlight down here on 505 is now isolated. He's by himself, and he's being pressed by both TAW, Savior, and Zen. So it looks like Savior sees him. He's low enough that I don't know that the GCI sees him, but 505's thought better of his position and has decided to turn cold. But what I don't like here is that 505 has sacrificed his altitude and his airspeed. 505 is really slow, and he's really low.
909 screaming in at about 600 knots, 11,000, 12,000 feet. Not as high as I'd like to see him, but he does have some backup, and it looks like it's scared off Zen and Savior as they're turning away. So it seems 505 may have escaped that.
And I guess Savior here has decided better than to press into that engagement. But TAW here is being very aggressive, and at the same time, I'm seeing kind of a breakdown in the shape being broadcast from the CNF side. So 120B off the rails from Red Core, but he's put himself in a really good position. Maintain hot aspect. Red Core, you've got the advantage on 101. And he turns cold.
Oof. That could have been a moment right there.
That could have been a moment. Oh, but is he recommitting? I thought he was going to. He thought about it, but he may just be trying to notch that 120. Is that 120 going to be a problem? I think he's line of sighted it. That missile's dead.
And it looks like Zen now pushing on 909 and 505, both cold, over here towards the coast. Doesn't look like anyone over there to really assist. 801 firing at what looks like Squirrels or Red Core from substantial distance. That doesn't look like it's going to do anything. And hopefully 801 is going to be
Now,
moving
what
himself over to
I
engage
don't
two.
want to see here coming from TAW is I don't want Red Core to overcommit here. I don't want him to be the
He's dangling in
lone
wind and
man and say, man, I've got all the guns. I'm Rambo, buddy. I can do this on my own. And then Rambo all of a sudden has a seizure and dies from something unknown.
He certainly seems to be drawing in 707 and 801 with Savior and Alpha Row there to possibly pounce. And now here's the shots out from Zen. A Matra 5, that's 530 out.
That missile's dead.
Like 909,
So Zen could be in trouble here as he's now head-to-head with 505. There's a 77 out. Is he going to be able to notch that? Is he going to be able to notch it? Yes.
Yep. I would have liked to have seen a little more composure on that shot there. You know, with as little of those as he has, that seemed like it might have been a wasted shot.
And Joel, just future reference here. Next time you may need to run TAC view because I'm having a hard time doing both here.
No problem. I can run it from the other machine too. I should have the space.
So the fight down here to the southwest between 505, 909, and Zen has seemingly dissolved. 909 is now hot, but we may have a merge coming here soon on the eastern front between Alpha Row, Red Core 6, and Savior against 405, 707, and 101.
TAW pushing hard right now. CNF looks like they are running with only two hot with one 120 and a 7 out from 101. Does Alpha Row see that? It does look like he.
So
he
120B off the rail from Alpha Row, but I think Alpha Row is going to be able to line of sight the missiles that were foxed on him in exchange. Just don't run into the ground here. And both teams playing very defensive, but we got a merge possibly between Squirrels and 909. 909 gets low. Is he going to be able to get away from this? I don't know, but Squirrels may be in trouble here as 505 says, don't take out my brethren. And ET coming in on Squirrels. Does he know that's coming? Squirrels may be in a world of trouble. He doesn't see that ET. He's dead. And pop.
909 and Squirrels go down in that engagement.
But up here, we've got a major exchange coming over here in the east. Alpha Row is able to notch that 120B, and we're down to a 5v5?
4v4, I think.
4v5. TAW may be able to equalize this. I don't know who got splashed.
I'm counting 4v4 right now.
Really? Yeah. Something happened.
Yep, and now it's
what I miss?
Matra out of Zen and then a R27
coming on a 801. And Zen may be in a world of trouble. You got to notch that, buddy. That missile's going to have energy by the time it reaches you. But he is in the meme missile of the Mirage, and that thing has a radar cross-section of a bug, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But that second ER notches that one, too. Holy crap, we've got a merge. Oh, and he gets splashed.
Hey, and now Alpha Row just goes down from 405. Red Core pushing on 405 now with Savior behind
So we've got a 2v4 now developing with CNF having a major advantage here coming into the late game of this round 2.
Well, TAW, not unfamiliar with these numbers right now. This is a similar scenario in which they were able to win in the last one. However, this is definitely going to take some digging down deep with Red Core definitely drawing some missiles out of 101 and almost taking them out at the same note with that aim.
So is Red Core able to put himself in an advantageous position against 101? It looks like he is. Sorry, guys, about the earlier camera work, but we've got a head-to-head coming between Red Core and 505 or 405. Not sure who that is, but Red Core gets splashed by a 120B that was popped over the hill, and then he goes line of sight. That was a nice shot coming from 101.
He tried to get a 9 out, but I think it caught the terrain there. But Savior, I don't know what he's got left for weapons. He's certainly got a tall order in front of him to try to take out 4.
Savior has a full load.
Ooh, there's the composure.
Magic coming on 405. I think 405's in trouble. Yep. Boom.
And he's got to evade that 7.
And that 7's not going to be any issue. So we're down to a 1v3. Savior has 3 missiles remaining. Does he have a missile with each one of the remaining CNF guys' name on it left?
He's got the spacing to do this. CNF is real spaced out right now, and I think that could end up being part of their problem here if he's able to pull
And I don't know
off.
that 101 knows where Savior's at. He does now as he sees the flares, and Savior's got an eagle screaming down on his 6th, and there goes what I can assume is a 120B, and boom, there goes Savior. So that should be all she wrote. He's still up, but he's smoking. I think he's his combat effectiveness is significantly diminished here. So this should be it.
And then a 27 coming in from way far with a lot of momentum. Yeah.
And that's it. So that's the equalizer. As long as CNF is able to land here, we're now 1-1 going into round 3. And Joel, this is what we like. Late game, round 3 for all the marbles.
And seemingly we had too. That was a very good matchup there too. We didn't get necessarily the chaos and the fireworks we got in the first one. That was a rare event in itself. But I think we have 2 solid rounds here. So I have to assume the third round is going to be pretty entertaining with the way these guys have played so far.
You know, one thing I just realized is 801 actually has jammers on his Su-27.
Interesting. Maybe that played a factor in it. Did the jamming, we know that can be a just as big of a problem for friendlies as it can be for enemies sometimes in it. But if you've done it in a way within your squadron, that can certainly be to your advantage if you do it right.
Oh, sorry guys, I got to recuperate after these first 2 rounds. As we watch these guys RTB, I think nobody from TAW has said that they don't have to RTB, so they are on their way back to Sanaki. But Joel, I just made an interesting observation. We've seen both sides win coming out of Sanaki. Do you think there's any type of advantage coming in from the south?
I struggle to see what that really would be. I mean, it's not like we're seeing the terrain being used in some sort of weaponized form by either side when coming from that. So, I mean, the only real difference I can imagine is the terrain leading up to Bullseye on either side. I just struggle to see that being a big factor in it, but there may be some factors I'm not seeing.
Right. I agree there. So they said no need to RTB, so I'm going to go ahead and shut down the server. We'll review the TAC view here going into this. Joel, what do you think what pushed this match in comparison to the first match into the favor of the CNF side?
Well, I think we had a longer period where we had missiles flying across that like I said, that 40-kilometer space there in the middle where guys seem to be kind of just venturing in, ripping a shot, and then coming back out. I think that time was that period of time was a little bit longer, and I think the teams got a little bit antsier towards the end there, and there was pressure to kind of make something happen there, and it certainly did. And I think both sides really got out of formation and tactics there at that point, and that led to what we saw at the end of the day.
Just a second, guys. Just getting a TAC view ready to go again.
I'd like to see both teams do a better job of, after that initial first fracas where shots are fired out, which I probably bossed that up pretty good, but either way, once we get that point where the formations have kind of collapsed, I'd like to see each team do a better job of maybe holding that together a little bit longer, or doing some maneuvers to maybe keeping that formation because of how effective it is for someone like CNF. Like, if they can do a better job in the final moments there after losing 1 or 2 guys of continuing to hold that type of formation and spread, I think they'd be poised to take this third round. Okay, so let's jump in here to the TAC view. Nothing really happens in here early. The first casualty again, I don't know if it was a disconnect. This is something we have to think about. Is this affecting TAW? Because they keep losing guys early in these rounds. First round, they lost Squirrels to a disconnect or a lawn dart. Then this round, I think they lost Newbie to the same thing. So that has to play some type of role in how these matches are shaping out and how these rounds are shaking out. So not only is it putting you at a numerical disadvantage to go into a 5v6, but it's also a morale loss because you're losing one of your pilots and you're now faced with the idea that you're outnumbered, and that's got to be catastrophic to the side that happens to. And actually, Newbie, it wasn't like the first round. He dies trying to defend this 120, so I credit that kill to 405. And I think that's fair, and I think the disconnector, the crash in the first round, that's unlucky. I think we've seen that happen on numerous times during SATAL, and when that happens, you have to kind of pull the bootstraps up and do with what you got. And I think they did a very good job of that in the first round. But you can certainly make the point that losing him early on in that second round definitely didn't make things easy for TAW going into the back half of that round, at least.
So nothing really happens for a while. Then we see, I think it's Squirrels gets popped by this ET. And that he's just you gotta be vigilant. I think he just gets tunnel visioned on 909 here. But you gotta be vigilant and expect that an ET is gonna come from someplace that you don't see. And then we see Zen gets in here, and he gets really lucky with these first ones with the able to notch these missiles. But then he just, I don't know what happened here, if he got hit by something. He does get hit by an R-73. So he brings the fight in, and I don't know if he just didn't have the nose aspect to be able to put the missiles on to 801 in exchange, but 801's able to take him down with his 73. So over here, if we look at this engagement between 405 and LFRO, we 405 is actually able to turn the tables here. Why does LFRO turn cold? Why is he turning cold in this engagement? He gives 405 his 6. Maybe, guys, this is what I'm talking about with altitude. Maybe he was just trying to line of sight him, but because he was trying to line of sight him, he didn't have situational awareness on where 405 was. And he actually eats in aim 7 because he doesn't know where 405 is. And once he figures it out with the launch warning, he tries to notch it, but he's already in a piss poor position and just dies. So that's unfortunate, but this is why I keep reiterating that altitude is a lot. It's almost everything. Swag, real quick, can LOT ATC missiles? No, that is another reason why we like LOT ATC over the endgame GCI AWACS panel, is because it cannot see missiles, so you don't get the launch warning. I think that's more realistic. So LFRO eats that one, and honestly, Red Corps 6 should just be able to but take down 405 and avenge his brethren. But instead, he goes after 101, and I think this is just a bad sort, and he just eats that 120B, and at that closer range, there's not much you're gonna be able to do. So, and then Savior being low, has low situational awareness. 405 being high, is able to look down and spot him easy with those flares that Savior puts out, and Savior just gets taken down.
Yeah, we did see a lot of altitude loss in the...
Oh, sorry. Savior actually takes down 405, and then it's 101 that comes in and avenges his lost comrade, so...
It definitely seemed like altitude got below 15,000 for the last 5-6 minutes of that match, and I think that may have played a factor into just not being able to retain that altitude advantage.
Hawk says, change the angle for TAC view to better show altitude. I'll try and do that, Hawk. It's hard to do when you're doing everything, but I'll try and remember to do that in the beginning. Let's try and get this match back underway here. I'm going to restart the live TAC view. So that should be going. Joel, what would you like to see out of this round? Guys, I promise Heatblur's coming. They've confirmed it with me. I'm just not sure when they're getting on. So it should be sometimes during round 3.
I'd like to see both teams come out here and continue doing what they were doing, which they did. Like I said, I think we're going to see the same formation, same tactics. We're going to see a very similar looking match around to what we've just seen the first two. I definitely have a gut feeling that that's going to be the case here. And I think, once again, we were just talking about it. We've talked about it throughout this match, but it's going to be the team that keeps that altitude advantage once the merge happens, once the chaos begins. The team that has that mental wherewithal to maintain that altitude advantage, and hopefully the GCI, if there's one in place, can keep that in the forefront of his, what he's trying to do as far as moving the pieces.
And guys, I'd like to I don't mean that altitude, if you have a higher altitude, you're going to win. I just mean that it plays a big role in the outcome of an event. I mean, obviously, you can be at a higher altitude and still die. I just mean it gives you an advantage when you enter an engagement, especially when you outnumber the other team and they're really low flying through the valleys. If you see them and you're high, you're at an advantage. You just want to try and give yourselves as many advantages as possible coming into a fight, because you really don't want to enter a fight 50-50. You want to enter a fight with as many advantages as you can to swing the fight in your favor, because nobody in real life wants to die.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we can see some fireworks similar to what we saw in round 1 with Red Core at the end there. And, you know, we saw him come out swinging, I think, in round 2. We'll see if that's the case here in round 3. But, you know, I think TAW probably going to be leaning on him to try to come through and have another one of those runs.
Okay. So should be able to jump into the match now. We are in round 3. And man, I was expecting this matchup between CNF and TAW to be exciting, but I was not expecting it to be this exciting.
I think when we discussed this prior, we knew that it was going to be a good quality matchup, I think, with the tactics and everything like that, but I don't know if we expected the fireworks that we're seeing today, so this is definitely nice.
Just waiting on the teams to load in.
And I think, folks, you know, what you're seeing today, I think you're going to see matchups very similar to this as we move into the playoffs. And, you know, the caliber of play is, you know, some of the better teams going against each other each week. So I think that'll be entertaining to watch.
Sorry, guys. Still coordinating with Heatblur to make sure that they get the times right. It's kind of hard to organize all of this because we don't know what time the match is going to end, so I can't just say, hey, Heatblur, you need to be here at this time, because we have no idea if it's going to go to round 3. I don't know if the round's going to go 3 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour or whatever. So just coordinating with them. And Iron Mike is coming. I'm not sure what dev's coming with him, but we are coming. There will be an F-14 given away. So it is still happening.
I think you may want to adjust the scoreboard. I think we have, you know.
So I'm adjusting the score, but I'm fucking it up at the same time. I'm sorry.
No worries. You know how they get about that.
Watching TAW finishing up taxi here.
I should probably join.
You can hear the Mirage taxiing over here to the west, or to the left. You guys sure give me a lot of shit about this scoreboard. Maybe I should count my blessings and just assume that that's the only thing you guys can give me shit about. Maybe I'm opening Pandora's box by saying this stuff, though.
They do seem to have an affinity for making sure that score is accurate to the moment, to the down to the second, almost at times.
These guys are finishing up taxi. Make sure that CNF is in here. See if they're ready. So round 3 is about to get underway and is in the deciding match for a big part of Group A.
All right, guys, scoreboard has been adjusted. We are looking good. Scoreboard is accurate.
Whoever wins this is going to take second place. Unfortunately, given how the KD has worked out in this round, 51st has solidified first place in Group A. So this is effectively a battle for second place, which if you guys haven't seen the seeding yet, or the end of the year tournament brackets, it's a big deal if you come in first, second, third, or fourth place. First place gets 2 buys, second place gets 1 buy, and then third and fourth play in the opening match. So third place from A plays fourth place from B and vice versa, and then they play second place, and then the winner of that match plays first place, and the winner of that match plays each other for the finals in the third place match. So that's how all that's going to work out. But second place and first place are a big deal. You get more time off, less time to lose. So second place, whoever gets it, gets a bye. And at this point, I'm kind of leaning towards CNF with their dominant showing. I think Red Core pulled a rabbit out of his ass in the first one. But I'm just leaning towards CNF for this particular match win. But who knows how this is going to shake out. If TAW gets their discipline under control and is able to maintain altitude for a longer period of time and maintain their shape without, you know, last time we saw Squirrels kind of get out to the west by himself. If they're able to maintain their shape a little bit better, I think they can take this one.
I'm excited to come across the first one where someone successfully maneuvers low through the mountains, comes up and sneaks up on one of these groups. I'm excited to see somebody pull that off. I think that would be a fun moment.
Well, and let's get caught up on our follows and everything so we can go. Where did I leave? Taylor, Tarkov, Damfrey, Pamp, Spitix, Sippin, Yuri, thanks for the follows. Joel, How to Blame, and Shafty, thanks for the follows. Toast drops 100 bits and says hello, everyone. Hello, Toast. And then Steve099 subs the channel. Thank you very much, sir. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying the show.
Awesome.
All of this stuff just goes back into making this a better experience for you guys. So you guys,
and I do, you know, as much as we go back and forth with the chat, I definitely enjoy getting in here every Saturday morning and mixing it up with everyone on the chat. You guys tend to make it interesting for us, and that makes me want to come on here and do it more often. So no doubt about it.
I think we're still just waiting on CNF to finish taxiing. Yeah, indeed we are. They're just taking the active up here at Maycop. So TAW is ready to go. We're just waiting for CNF to give the all clear and ready to go. And the last two are just taking the active up here at Maycop. So they should be ready to rock here momentarily.
Awesome. And, you know, I'd like to, you proposed a question to me earlier, and I'd actually like to ask the chat this. And do you guys think location of starting point, like what airport you start at, plays a factor in having any advantage throughout this match? So we've seen today both wins have come from the team starting at Sanaki. So, you know, is that a factor?
I was just going to point that out, yeah. I don't know. I personally, looking from the F10 view, I can't see it as being a factor, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there may be an element of this thing I'm not thinking about when I kind of break that down, but to me, I can't think of any one significant factor. Both areas seem to share certain terrain similarities. Both have a little bit of water involved. Both have a little bit of mountains involved. There might be a few hills that are closer if you're really trying to stay low and doing something like that. But in the context of what SATAL is set up like, I don't think that's that beneficial. But once again, people can find creative ways to exploit, you know, deficiencies.
So fights on finally for round 3. We're seeing TAW depart here. And Soul dropping the sub, man. You just have something going on with you every week. You've got a couple $10 donations that came the past weeks. Now you're subbing. And guys, Soul actually generously donated a T16000M HOTAS that will be given away, not today, at some point, probably during the tournament weekend in October. So look forward to that coming. that'll be given away here coming soon.
That's awesome. And now somebody's going to be rocking a brand new set of HOTAS to get their DCS on, which is always fun when you get a new set of sticks. I just recently upgraded some stuff myself. That's always fun.
You know, and something else that leads me into, we actually have a set of, not a set, I have several to give away. They're not on the same price range as the HOTAS, but throttle detents for the Thrustmaster Warthog throttle. So it's their afterburner detents. They're push-throughs instead of a pull-up stopper. So those will be given away as well in an upcoming stream.
And that's awesome. That's definitely, those things are pretty nice when you get one in place. From what I've heard, having that throttle detent.
Yeah, I've got one on mine, and it made a world of difference.
Keep you from running through all that gas without realizing it. Those guys out there with a heavy hand.
Combs says, Moltar, can you please explain the J-11 and Su-27 missiles? Combs, can you be a little more specific on what exactly you're looking for clarification on?
I think isn't that one of the more, you know, the distinct differences between when they you know, between those two airframes, the J-11 and the Su-27, is one has a missile, the other one does not have, or one has a. I think I know what he's referring to, but I'm not.
Yeah, the J-11 can take the R-77. It's been pretty lackluster here in SATAL, but it is the only plane that can take the R-77.
And yes, it did half-inch. I've been enjoying it quite a bit.
So watching the Mirages egress away from their starting point of Sanaki. So this round, TAW started like they did the first round out of Sanaki, and CNF like they did first round of starting out of Makop. Will this, we talked about this briefly already this round, play a role in how this round ends up finishing up? Will TAW bring themselves back and win the third round after losing the second one after a first round victory, or will CNF capitalize on the morale advantage that they've built after winning the second round and clinch this one here in round 3?
What is this? Do we have Red Corps 6 out ahead of the main 2 flights by a substantial margin, 5 miles, leading the pack seemingly right now? This is an interesting turn of events here. And then you have a 3 flight in the middle, which looks to be spacing, or at least Newbie is now breaking away to cover Red Corps 6. And then you have a third 2 flight in the way back. Once again, I think CNF, we're going to see the same thing.
I think we will too. Yep.
And I feel like TAW mixing it up right now. This could be a deciding factor in this whole thing. It could be an X factor, if you will. They're doing things seemingly a little bit differently, or maybe they're just spacing out in a different way than they normally do. But I get the feeling with Red Corps up in the front there, they're doing something different.
Yeah, usually we see Red Corps up here with Newbie. So is this... Well, Newbie is starting to catch up. So I think maybe there's some separation between Red Corps 6 and Newbie here.
I do like keeping Red Corps on the forefront there, though. You know, go with the hot hand, no doubt about it. He's, even in the last match, like I said, he came out swinging, but he still was able to, I believe, take down one, if not maybe another CNF player. I'm not positive on that, which, if so, that would put his kill count today up to 5 or 6 at that point.
Nope. Sorry, guys. Did he get a kill last round?
I don't exactly remember. Maybe the chat can help with that. Does anyone know if Red Corps was able to pull one out in that last one?
We saw
I know he had some close shots.
He got 4 in the first round. Did he get any in the second round is the question. And will he capitalize on anything here in this round?
We're going to need an overlay for tracking his kills at some point here. The guy's got so many.
Just waiting for these guys to ingress in here.
DCS, sorry, I brute force server password. Can I hang around in a server?
Seal, probably not. I think you need to leave, unfortunately. Let's try not to do that in the future, guys. Just try and stay out of the server. We don't want to cause any type of issues or discrepancies that these guys may deem during a competitive match.
Yeah, no reason to give somebody the reason to complain about something or say something wasn't right.
Yeah. So Going forward, just a heads up, guys, Iron Mike is in the house. We'll have him after this round. So Heatblur is here to give away a module and talk about the F-14. So it is happening. Separation now is down to 150 clicks, so still a substantial amount of rage going. Rage just said something, and I said that. Of range still to go. I think we're going to see the same. We've talked about this numerous times, but I think we're going to see the same formations coming from both teams that they've done in previous rounds. The question is, are they going to be able to use those formations more to their advantage during these rounds? Turkey Driver, yes, this is the correct chat for their Heatblur giveaway. You just got to wait a little bit as we get a little closer as this round completes. Should be coming up here in the next 15 to 20 minutes or so.
Interesting to see at what point we're going to see CNF pull their little fan out maneuver.
They've been doing it closer and closer as they get, closer to the enemy formation. They do these fans, so
it definitely seems like a very practiced maneuver. Like I said, they almost do it in a way where they start it at the exact same time, which is, leads me to think that CNF definitely has a GCI calling the shots from above here. Because I feel like that type of stuff is difficult to orchestrate without somebody, giving you the top-down view.
separation now is down to 80 clicks. And here comes the fan maneuver coming from CNF.
Indeed.
You know, one thing that surprises me during these matches is, and I know the teams are really stressed out, but it seems like the teams like to do what they do best, and they have one formation that they do coming into these environments, instead of doing something like having multiple formations to try and... This is just an observation. This isn't a yay or nay for any teams, or a negative or a positive. It's just... It's interesting to see that teams do the same thing every round, and that it still is effective when they ingress into these matchups.
You have to think too, practice time may play a little factor in there, but I'd like to see a little bit more variety in that department. It looks like we got our first shots out. Aim 7s from 215s.
So we do see an aim 7 come from 101 and an aim 7 come from Red Core 6. And interestingly enough, both of those aim 7s are completely unsupported.
Yeah, because they just broke white right away.
So maybe they were just there to try and get the bandits to turn cold, but both of those missiles are a non-factor for both teams going forward, as they broke walk immediately after the missiles came off the rail.
Yep, 405, a little reluctant there to turn back, but it seems like the GCI got him corralled in, and now we got the other 3 from the rear wall pushing past. And it seems like we have a very similar thing going on here with, instead of two 3 flights, 3 2 flights from TAW. So the 2 back 2 flights now pushing up, covering the egress of the main 2 flight of Newbie and Red Core.
So this is very similar to what we saw in the second round, where the separation between the 2 flights, even after the first engagement, was around 50 kilometers. Then it slowly divulged into a clusterfuck, if you will, as the teams got closer and closer together. And then it felt like the situational awareness, especially for TAW, seemed to dissolve, as they didn't really have the same tenacity that they had during round 1.
Agreed. And I feel like CNF formation isn't as pretty as we're used to seeing it, and that may be just due to the exchange right now.
I feel the same way. I feel, especially looking at 801, 505, and 707, they don't have the same continuity that they have in the first rounds. It's been
Just
it's
feels
not
tighter,
as
too.
simultaneous as
Yeah,
it's been in the
correct,
first rounds. And I know I'm nitpicking here, and it's easy for me to say here in F10 view, but that's what it looks like.
Indeed. It's definitely easy for us to point that stuff out from this perspective, no doubt about it.
And again, TAW is taking this low approach. Savior and Zen in the Mirages, instead of taking what we've seen in the past of being really high. When I say past, I mean past matchups between teams, not these past rounds. They're really low. And I wonder what exactly they're trying to accomplish here.
Get the feeling they're trying to use these valleys right now to maybe block off some of the, cut some of those angles and limit the radar contact. But at the same note, with the altitudes that most of CNF is operating at, which I'm looking at in the mid to high 20s right now for almost every single aircraft, the exception of the front two who are right around 20,000. Although it doesn't look like they necessarily see them, although 909 may be coming in. He looks like he might smell blood.
909 may see him, but if they can just orbit in this little patch that they're in without showing their cards, without showing their hand, they may be able to do something.
Another 7 out from Red Corps and then just break radar.
With their positions. But yeah, this unsupported 7 thing, I think it may just be to get them to turn cold, as they don't know if it's a 120B or an AIM 7, so they have to respect it as a pit-bold 120.
Yeah, at that point, you're just causing the alarm to go off and getting them to move at the end of the day, which it effectively worked there. It's, I don't know if they were trying to lure in some fighters over the top of the Mirages, but it seems like they're abandoning that strategy and now regrouping more to the south. 405, the aggressive fighter for CNF today, multiple times I've seen him continuing to press hot when the entire rest of his squadron is pushing cold.
And TAW is still really close, and we're starting to see CNF get pretty spread out. And their lead 3 ship of 909, 101, and 405 has seemingly dismantled itself as this round has progressed. They don't have the same shape that they had. They're effectively now a 2-ship spread and another 3-ship with a singleton trailing behind. But it'll be interesting to see as this round progresses, does 405 regroup with 909 and 101, or does he stay as a singleton and see if he can make something happen?
Yeah, interesting. He's trying to get some altitude back now. He's got the speed going, that's for sure. Here comes a decent wall of CNF with 801, 707, and 505 pressing up. And we got another AIM 7 out of Alfaro.
Yeah, Alfaro puts an AIM 7. I'm assuming that's on 707 to turn him cold. But I'd like them to allow some of these guys to continue to stay hot unless they're just trying to turn this western flank cold while the eastern flank from CNF presses into what may be the trap coming from Zen and Savior over here to the northeast, because they are still pretty low over here on the northeast of this action area.
I'd like to address a Comey comment really quickly. I will not be shaving the mustache if CNF wins. Thank you.
What will it take you to shave the mustache?
I went on a date recently and was asked that same question.
You went on a date?
Yes.
The mustache man went on a date.
Indeed, mustache man went on a date and was asked that question. And I said, you know what? I don't know if there's anything that's really going to get him to shave the stash right now. So it's here to stay, folks. It's not going away. You're going to have to deal with it, whether you like it or not.
So still, uneventful match. Both teams staying fairly disciplined and not overcommitting. 6 pilots remaining for both sides. But I'm slowly seeing this shape start to dissolve for CNF as this match progresses. They are maintaining their altitude decently well, though. They're not getting low like TAW is. They're maintaining their altitude, maintaining their energy. That 120B may be a problem on Elifro if he stays in hot. Is that going to be an issue?
Certainly looks like both teams don't want to lose this match right now. I think we can agree on that. Both teams playing like they don't want to lose.
Could be in trouble. Does he get that notched? He does. That missile's
I'm going to propose
non-factor.
a question. Which one of these teams wants to win this one? Because that's going to be the team that goes out and makes the maneuvers to pull it off here. Right now, both teams playing too defensive for my liking. We need to see somebody kind of push the envelope here and try to make a move for their squad.
So Combs has asked a question of what he was the original one that asked the difference between the different missiles on the flankers. He asked, what's the difference between the ER and the ET? The difference is the seeker head. So the ER uses a semi-active radar seeker head, while the ET uses an IR signature seeker head like a heat-seeking missile. It just has much longer range.
Indeed.
So nobody's been dispatched yet. Both teams still playing very defensive. Multiple missiles being foxed from both sides. But still not a lot happening. We're seeing the team slowly, very slowly start to get slower. Or not slower, but closer together.
Neither team wants to lose. It's who wants to win. That's going to be... Someone's going to have to change from not wanting to lose to wanting to win here to make this happen.
Well, I am seeing CNF maintain their altitude. While going through and looking at TAW, everybody from TAW is very low. While that allows you to line of sight missiles more effectively, you don't have the same situational awareness.
Well, you get the feeling this could be the first matchup in a few weeks where, the laws of attrition are going to play an effect here. Who's going to have enough gas to make it back after this? If we do enough of these flying in circles and firing at nothing, you're going to see a lot of gas get wasted here, and it could play a factor into whether we get a draw or whether we get an actual win out of this at the end there. We may see somebody shoot down the other side, but they may not have enough fuel to make it back.
Now is Squirrels getting vectored onto 505. They're in the same valley. 505 is Squirrels is maintaining his aspect towards 505. Now, do they see each other is the main question. They're going to run into each other over here on the northern flank. Unless 505 turns cold, which it looks like he's doing, or is he just coming slightly to the west?
Squirrels lost a lot of momentum, and
he's not very fast.
Yeah, 300, almost at 300 knots right there. Now Squirrels
is turning cold, but he may be going to 101.
Which, if he does, 505 is going to need to turn hot and quick, because I don't think 909 can get a shot off in time to save him. And here we go.
Trying to get this.
I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think 101's got the
Can't
advantage.
see it. 101's going to have the energy advantage. It's an ET, so I don't think that's going to be a factor. I think it's going to run out of energy by the time it gets there.
And a little bit more attempt to get into it now. 405 putting a shot out on Newbie, but I don't think that's going to have the energy.
Speaking of 405, we do see the fight starting to develop on two fronts. We've got a 5v4 up here to the north and a 1v2 down here in the south. Newbie line of sighting that 120B. I don't think that's a factor anymore.
I'm telling you, 405 has been doing his own thing a lot today. If there's any one of the fighters from CNF that's kind of branched out and done his own thing, it's been 405. He's stayed hot longer and pushed the envelope more than any other.
The question
CNF
is
fighter.
Does he stay disciplined enough to not be overly aggressive and get himself into a situation that he can't recover from in a 2v1? And Red Core 6 puts a close 120B on 405. That may be trouble for 405. He goes into a vertical split S, but is he going to be able to get away from it? No. That thing takes him down, but is Red Core going to be able to get away from these 120Bs fired from 405? And I think he did line of sight them. So that is a very advantageous exchange coming by Red Core. Again, notching another one onto his belt, splashing 405. Yep. And TAW now, unlike the previous two matches, has a numerical advantage going into the mid-game. 6-5. ET coming now though on Newbie. There's the flares. You got to come out of it, Burner. You got to change your aspect.
Alpha Row needs to get a shot off there. Or Alpha Row.
That ET, those flares may have been enough. And indeed they were. But now we've got a 2v2 developing down here in the south. Aleph Row now is those coming off from the eastern front and coming over to the west and seeing if he can help his other two brethren, Newbie and Red Core 6, take it to the two ship of 707 and 101.
It seems like we got ourselves a little 4v4 shaping up here in the center there, with now 909 turning back to commit, and then the other two flights with Zen and Squirrels pushing in. Now we got shots out all over the place.
Red Core 6 may be in trouble, though, on the higher flying CNF member. I don't know that he's going to be able to dodge that unless he line of sights it and stays low. Did he? I think he did. Man, Red Core 6 showing all kinds of wizardry over here.
We lost 801. He took a shot from a 120 from Alafro.
Did he? We may have a merge now in Alafro and 505, though, like you said. Alafro, are you going to press your advantage here? Yeah, you've got all kinds of advantage coming in here. You got to press that. He does get an aim 9. I think that's an aim 9 off. It's going to track. Splash.
And then he's got a 7 on him, which he looks like he can hold. He's not in a position to have to move 909, but it doesn't look like it's going to track.
So TAW here taking it to Chinese Festival. 120B coming off a 909. What's Newbie going to do? Is he going to be able to dodge that? You got to get low. You got to get line of sight that because I think you're too fast to notch it. Think he line of sights it? No, that came over the treetop and popped him in the face. So we're down to a 4v3? 5v3?
Squirrel still out there, not necessarily engaging right now. It's almost like he's hanging out in case somebody needs him or something. I'm not sure what he's doing out there.
Hey guys,
but he's not,
you need me?
Not in the fight right now.
Just call me. I got beers. I'll bring him to the party, guys. Just bring him over.
Well, there could be a strategy in that. Maybe they're hanging him out.
Maybe.
With, conserving fuel, conserving weapons. As this thing kind of started to get drawn out a little bit more.
He is relatively low. So they could be using him like they do in Blue Flag or Longbow or any of those missions where you get chased and then you drag into the low-flying aircraft like a stinger that they don't know it's there and just wait, a guy waiting in ambush to pop him as he flies over.
Even with 3 guys left in the match, I'm looking at CNF right now, and there's good spacing, and they're all still seem to be trying to stay performing that similar maneuver that they had been pulling off the entire time. So credit to them for staying disciplined and doing what they do. Whether it's being effective or not is another story.
Now down here to the south, 707 has a whole gaggle of TAW guys after him, and I'd like TAW to say, hey, he's cold. We need to regroup. Get our shape back, reform up, and put these guys into a position that they can't recover from. If we get into a position where, they're all chasing one guy, they might just get popped one by one by a CNF guy that puts himself in a position, a better position that TAW can't recover from.
Well, CNF still has a fair amount of missiles on board. The Mirage still fully loaded. Both Mirages, I believe. I don't think I've seen a single 530 or Magic come out yet. So, I mean, it certainly looks like TAW has CNF on the run right now. They're going to need to figure out what they can do to kind of turn this thing around. At least we have one fighter, 707, committing hot. And it looks like Savior is going to break off the deal with him. But I feel like, he's going to need some help.
So we've got the head-to-head coming from 707 and Savior. Multiple missiles coming off the rails from 707. I think Savior may be in trouble. No, he's driven those missiles into the ground. But is he going to maintain and turn back in here?
And 707 just put out 4 shots. I mean, he just shot almost everything on his plane, and
everything went into the ground.
Yep.
I don't think 707 has any. He's got 273s left, and 707 gets popped.
And we lost another. We lost 2 in that. No, we lost 2. We lost 2. Only 101.
So 101 is the only one remaining. He is the sole survivor with 5 TAW planes remaining coming into this.
And he is just going at it head on.
And 101 is very high, so he's got nowhere to hide. He's definitely going to show up on somebody's scope.
He's got 2 120s out right now. Salvoing those out pretty decently.
Savior, I think, is in trouble. I think Savior's going to eat one of those. No, he gets it into a notch, but is Red Core going to take it? No.
Nope.
Both of those missiles get notched, and we come over here to this engagement, and Squirrels gets taken down, but he takes down 101 right down with him. So that's all she wrote.
To score a kill for the win right there. Squirrels valiantly sacrifices himself to pull this one off.
For CNF there, valiantly, like you said, coming into the last man standing, but TAW.
It just kind of fell apart for them in the last few minutes of that thing. Unfortunately, I'm not. Like I said, as I was alluding to earlier, it seemed like for the majority of that, neither team wanted to lose, and then all of a sudden, TAW wanted to win it, and they did, and they became aggressive, and it didn't seem like Chinese Festival was prepared to handle how aggressive TAW came at them there at the end.
And while we watch these guys RTB, I'm going to drag the 104th gents down here. We've got Iron Mike and Gyro Vague. I don't know who Gyro Vague is in the grand scheme of things of Heatblur. He works for Heatblur, but I don't know what he does. So I'm going to drag these two guys down, and we'll get this interview and giveaway started.
User was moved to your channel. User was moved to your channel.
Aaron, Mike.
Hey, Motor. Hey, Billy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Just wrapping up round 3. TAW took it in a pretty decisive fashion in round 3. It was pretty close going in there into that round, but man, TAW decided we've had enough and just took it to CNF going into this last remaining round.
Yeah, we've seen that. It was pretty impressive. I mean, TAW really turned around the table there and came out very dominantly against the Chinese Festival, who we all know is very strong squadron, so that's a really good job by TAW, and a pretty impressive and very decisive win, I would say. So congratulations to TAW for taking this one home, and of course as well to the Chinese Festival for a brilliant show nonetheless.
So do you mind, I see you brought Gyro with you, do you mind introducing him and letting us know what part he plays with Heatblur?
Yeah, so Gyroak, I think he can also introduce himself, but just in short, Gyroak is one of the major developers at Heatblur. He's an engineer. And I have a phone call. God damn it. Alright, got rid of that. So Gyro is doing a lot of systems development. He's responsible for the radar, for example, and the AUG-9. And all stuff connected to the Rio, multi-crew and so on. So a very, very important part in Heatblur. And maybe Gyro, you can tell us yourself what you're doing and what your role is in Heatblur simulations.
Yeah, sure. Hi. Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a bunch of different things. Vehicle data display and technical information display, related to the radar, especially the Rio side. Basically all the weapon stuff, the various missiles and how to mount those onto the plane and how to release those, and everything related to that, like different frequencies and all that kind of stuff. Data link with the and carrier and amongst the reporting themselves. And then even things like the pilot feature display and the physical display indicator and so on. A lot of stuff, really.
Gyro, you're breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's your connection or your mic or what. You're just a little hard to understand. I just want to make sure it's easy for the viewers to understand what exactly you're saying as we move forward.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's better.
I don't have much further.
So
should be better now, right?
Yeah, it sounded better. So do you guys want to give us an update? Are you guys allowed to give us an update on anything with the Tomcat? I know we saw the awesome Intruder trailer last week, and we got some kind of non-solid news from some of you guys about maybe the Intruder becoming a full module going forward eventually, but right now it's the AI. And then you guys released the teaser of the countdown that's now on your website, counting down to October 7th. So is there any information that you guys can give us in regards to the Tomcat, the Intruder, or really anything pertaining to Heatblur going forward?
Well, I think, we'd like to invite everybody to the reveal stream on the 7th, where we will basically show off everything concerning Tomcat. That doesn't mean that's the release date, just to be clear here. But stay tuned for the 7th and check in, because that's going to be the major reveal. Today we thought we will talk a little bit about the radar maybe with data link, stuff like that with GyroVac, since this is his specialty. And if you all agree, I would just move on to that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. Is it okay if, you know, maybe the chat just types questions, so maybe if we have time, we may be able to answer them?
Yeah, unfortunately, Gyro is a little bit pressed. I mean, you all know we're in the pre-release phase, so it's a little bit stressy time for all the developers, so we're a little bit short on time. So, but we'll try to get in as much as possible, and we try to pick up as many questions from the users as we can. And maybe we just start with GyroVac. So tell us a little bit how we model the radar, and maybe what the main differences between how the F-14 radar will be to, for example, how the F-15 radar is, or something like that.
Sure. I mean, I don't know that much about how the F-15 radar is implemented inside DCS, of course. I mean, we suspect it's fairly simplistic and so on, based on just the performance of it shown in the game. And obviously, we've got constraints regarding how the stuff works inside DCS itself. I mean, it's not a full sort of E4 simulation in great detail or whatever, but basically, I mean, we get aircraft objects and ground objects and so on from DCS APIs, based on certain elevation and azimuth angles and so on. You can query objects. And then on top of that, we basically post-process that stuff to simulate what the radar would be able to see and so on. So we do the normal line of sight calculations, check the range, based on which mode you're in, limit what range you're able to see, check the range rate, the Doppler frequencies, and limit that based on your mode as well. Things like checking for zero Doppler, relative speed, checking for ground flutter, notching, all that kind of stuff. We basically post-process from what GPUs give us to try and give back a realistic radar picture, what basic information that we have, what the F-14 would have been able to do. I mean, basically, the DPS APIs give you kind of like God mode. You can query any object in the whole sphere, and we have to post-process it to make it seem realistic, like a radar would.
I think you're breaking up a little bit again, Gyro.
Okay, sorry about that.
Could you hear him well, Malta?
It's a little kind of all over the place. I don't know. I think it's his mic, but I think we just do the best that we can and see where it goes.
It's also Gyro lives pretty far from us, so might be an issue also as well, but we'll try to do the best. There's a question, is our radar, Raycaster radar, a true one, GyroVac?
Yeah, I mean, for like the ground returns and so on, absolutely. It does raycasting, and it'll certainly, things will get occluded behind terrain and so on. So it's definitely raycasting in that sense. Yeah. The ground returns are accurate in that sense. Things that are behind a hill or whatever, you won't be able to see them on the returns and that kind of thing.
That's very cool. And what kind of radar modes are we talking when we talk from Hawk 9 radar? Pulse scan, pulse Doppler, maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, it's got a whole bunch of modes. There's basically, from memory, there's two different pulse modes: a pulse search mode and, of course, the pulse single target track mode. And then there's, I think, 4 or so pulse Doppler modes: range while scan, track while scan, pulse Doppler search, and the pulse Doppler single target track. And then I guess in addition to that, there's basically the air-to-ground radar mode, which can do radar ranging, as well as quite low resolution, sort of not ground mapping in the sense of ground stabilized, but it can do ground returns, based on beat or raycasting and so on. And that's basically a pulse mode as well. So it's got limited resolution and so on based on the beam width and sort of pulse compression that we simulate, that kind of thing.
So what, for example, are the main differences between a pulse scan and a pulse Doppler mode?
So the main thing really is that a pulse mode will literally send out a pulse of a certain pulse width, they call it, or pulse length, and measure the time it takes to get the return for that, and based on that you can get accurate ranging. But the downside to pulse mode is that you have a problem with ground clutter if you do it downward. The pulse Doppler mode will send out many pulses in quick succession, sort of a pulse repetition pattern, and look at the consecutive phase shift amongst consecutive returns. So obviously it doesn't really work that way in DCS, you have to simulate that. But the pulse Doppler mode basically gives you relative speed between you and the target. And based on that, you can filter out ground returns from that. So you can actually see target while looking down with the radar, where the pulse mode you would be getting, lots of ground returns and ground clutter, and you'd lose the target on the ground.
There is this theory in the community somehow. I've not with everybody, but a lot of people I come across with, they have this notion or idea that the Tomcat is unnotchable because of the pulse Doppler mode, and we know that's not true. Maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I can explain it a bit. There's basically two filters, and I mean, this probably applies to other aircraft too. I'm not sure to what extent they're modeled in other modules in these tests and so on. But there's basically two filters in the pulse Doppler mode which reject targets. The one is the zero Doppler filter, which basically gets rid of targets that have got the same sort of relative speed that you do. So if you're chasing a plane and he's flying, more or less in the same direction as you are, more or less the same speed that you are, there's basically no Doppler shift, and you won't be able to see that target. So that's the one filter that's kind of always in place. The other one is a filter that tries to look for things that look like ground returns, essentially. So it's basically things that have got like negative own ground speed in the line of sight of the radar direction. So obviously, as the radar scans left and right and up and down, the relative speed will be different. It's not always your actual ground speed. It's less at the, at wide angles and so on, just due to the way physics works. But basically, that filter can be disabled with look-up angles above 3 degrees or so. So, and that's the filter that normally, planes will notch. If they're going to the beam with you, they will look the same as what ground returns would look. But if you're looking up at more than 3 degrees elevation angle, then they won't be able to notch you in that sense.
What are maybe the weaknesses of the radar when we speak, for example, of TWS, when you have two bandits flying very close together as a two-ship, for example? Will we be able to see that two-ship, or how reliable is that mode?
So basically, pretty much everything in radar design, and this is like more a fundamental thing than an F-14 related thing, but pretty much everything in radar design is trade-offs and compromises and so on. And then the pulse Doppler modes in F-14, they use very high PRF to get very good range rate and very good relative velocity measurements, basically. But the downside of that is in the high PRF mode, you can't use the pulse returns directly for range, so you don't get accurate range. So they have to use basically other mechanisms to find range. And the mechanism used in F-14 is called frequency modulation ranging. And that frequency modulation ranging has got quite poor range resolution. In F-14, it's in the order of 5 nautical miles or so. So basically, targets that are flying close together within your beam width of around 2 degrees or something on F-14, and within that range of each other, say 5 nautical miles. In the track while scan mode, you won't be able to discern them as being multiple targets. More than one. You won't know the difference between more than one target and one target. So on your radar, on your tactical information display, you will see one target shown. It might be a 2 or 3 ship close formation. There's no way that you can know that, basically.
Can the data link from the E2 AWACS, for example, help with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's right now in the F-14 simulation, yes, it can. I mean, we get the targets from the E2 as it sees them. We don't, of course, know how accurately the E2 radar itself is modeled and whether the E2 would have been able to see that in real life or not. But we do get that information from DCS, from the E2 in DCS, so yes.
Speaking of that, I mean, the F-14 radar is obviously modeled very realistically, and it's going to be a very close to real-life representation of the radar. When we speak of that, and for example, take a look at the DDD, where we don't have range but just closure rate, what does that mean? I think a lot of people are not very familiar with that concept, since we're all used to those very simplified radars like the F-15 or SC-27 and so on. What is the real difference between range rate or closure rate and true range?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, I guess the name kind of says it, right? Range rate is basically like the first derivative of range. It's like the rate of change of the range. So it's literally, if you're chasing a guy flying in the same direction as you at the same speed as you, then the range rate is basically zero because the range isn't increasing or decreasing. So, you know, range rate, closure rate, basically the same thing. And obviously range is your real range to the target. So on the DDD, in the pulse Doppler mode, as you say, it shows the range rate on the Y scale. In the pulse Doppler single target track, interestingly enough, it actually does show the range as well as the range rate on a separate scale to the left of the DDD. But generally the pulse Doppler modes show only the range rate. But because the pulse Doppler modes do have that frequency modulation ranging that I talked about earlier, those targets do actually have a range, and they do get displayed on the tactical information display at the range and the angles relative to you. So you do still have, you know, a clear picture of how far away they are, which direction they're flying in, you know, relative to yourself.
So in general, the ORG-9 and the TID, the tactical overlay display, do help a little bit with that. Does the Rio have more possibilities in order to accommodate for that? Or for example, if I see like blips on the DDD and some look like closer to the button or further away from the button, how am I able to more or less accurately interpret that picture?
So I mean, the tactical information display is basically your main thing where you'll be interpreting the picture, because that shows each target at the range they are from you and the direction that they're flying in relative to you. So the tactical information display is your primary picture, really. The detailed data display, especially in the pulse Doppler mode, it's actually pretty difficult to sort of interpret it as a human. It's sort of unintuitive in a certain sense. But that does kind of help you to see at which points you might be losing targets, you know, where they're getting close to zero Doppler or where they're getting close to like ground speed being able to be notched and that kind of thing. The pulse Doppler search mode in the F-14 has got the longest range in effect, but that does not do frequency modulation ranging, and it consequently cannot show any targets on a tactical information display. So in pulse Doppler search, you can see only range rate on a detailed data display, but you'll be able to detect targets, you know, from very far away. You just won't be able to see how far away they actually are from you.
So basically the Rio will have to know very well which modes to use at which time in order to get a good tactical picture and to be able to interpret that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're very far away from the action and you're not expecting anything, you're going to maybe pulse Doppler search mode and you're really expecting to see nothing. And maybe if you start seeing things there, you can kind of get an idea whether they're closing or opening relative to you. And kind of like, obviously, if they're closing, you can kind of see, okay, you know, they've been closing for a certain amount of time. They must be getting close enough, and you can maybe switch to like a TWS mode or even RWS mode. And then you might be able to start getting a picture on your tactical information display if they're within range.
Apart from that incredible range of, I think it's 200 nautical miles, if I remember correctly, what other strengths would you say does the F-14 radar have?
Yeah, I mean, the 200 nautical miles, obviously that's like a marketing figure in a certain sense. I mean, the radar cross-section of targets depends a bit on the attitude as well. So we simulate all of that. So, you know, if a target is coming towards you or away from you or beaming you, we simulate different radar cross-sections. So the range will change and Obviously, bigger targets are easier to spot than smaller targets, and that kind of thing. I mean, I guess in terms of the strength of the radar of that era, I think there was nothing in that era that was able to track 24 targets simultaneously in the track-while scan mode, and be able to fire 6 Phoenix missiles, at 6 targets simultaneously, and kind of keep everything still on the tactical information display and everything updated and so on. I mean, I guess weaknesses, as mentioned, that frequency modulation ranging gives very poor range resolution. So I guess that's definitely a weakness. The other thing is that the zero Doppler and the ground clutter filters on the F-14 are quite wide in a sense. So I think targets will be able to maybe notch more easily than they might be able to on other radars. And that's kind of, as I said before, it's kind of hard to know how accurately like the F-15 and so on models that stuff, and whether it models it at all and so on. So I think in a certain sense, like the F-15 radar maybe has given people like a false picture of how good radars are. That actually even applies in general to many of the avionics things in the jet. I think a lot of things, realistic ways that things like the compasses and the inertial navigation, all that kind of things work, RWR and all that kind of stuff is a lot worse in real life than people maybe give an idea in DCS from.
You mentioned the AIM-54, which I think is also a core interest of the community, of course, how strong it's going to be and so on and so on. I don't think we need to go into that in particular because we already talked about the Phoenix, and Tom did a great interview with Ralph Edut. Everybody can check out on YouTube about the AIM-54 Phoenix and its intricacies if you want. But there was one good question way above from the community here in the stream chat was, if you fire an AIM-54 Phoenix in TWS and you lose lock in TWS, could you then switch to PDSTT or PSTT and have that fired AIM-54 reacquire the target and continue tracking it?
I mean, I guess there's several answers to that question. The one thing is, I mean, if you're losing it in TWS, then there's a reason why you've lost it in TWS, and you probably won't be able to get PDSTT on it anyway at that point. But the thing is, the F-14 itself commands the missile with a data link, and in TWS, when it loses track, where it loses returns of that target, it can continue predicting the target motion based on previous sightings and previous velocity and so on. So it kind of depends. If the target wasn't aware that it's being launched on and it continues flying in a straight line, F-14 can continue predicting where the target would be and continue sending navigation updates to the missile's INS system over the data link. And at some point, the missile gets close enough to the target and puts it on its active mode, its own radar. And if the target is still more or less where it was predicted to be, the radar, on the active Phoenix will find the target and we'll get it. But obviously, if the target has moved away and F-14 has lost TWS track and the target is going in a different direction to what F-14 thought it was going, then the missile will go to a different place, and when it goes active, the target won't be there, and the missile will be lost, basically.
So there are a few modes where the missile goes active. For example, if you fire it in ACM, it's instantly active and so on. How do the active modes work with the AIM-54, or in which modes, and when does it go active? Maybe we could talk a bit about that.
So I mean, basically, as you said, in ACM mode, it'll be active as soon as you fire it. So that's like a sort of a dogfight mode, air combat maneuver mode. There's a button specifically that the pilot can press as well on his ACM panel. Hello, you guys still there?
Yeah, I think Malta, you're.
Yeah, it's good. I just turned off something. You're good.
Okay, great. Sorry, just suddenly sounded like silence. And there's a button that the pilot can specifically press on his weapons panel in front of him to switch the missiles to bore sight mode, and that goes for Sidewinder, Phoenix, and Sparrow. And in that mode, the Phoenix will also be active immediately. And then basically, other than that, normally the weapons control system on the F-14 will control when the Phoenix goes active, which will usually be when it's within a certain range of where it thinks the target is.
Then in TWS mode, in the F-15, we're used to a very convenient pitbull timer, you know, so we know when the missile goes pitbull, and then we know it's active, and that indicates the pilot it's a fire and forget from this point. In the F-14, that's a little bit different. Maybe you could explain how.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any information indicating that there's any kind of timer like that in the F-14. What it does do is it has kind of like internal timer that once it's launched a missile on a target, it will do things like continue to predict that target for longer than it normally would if it loses TWS lock. Like normally, it will drop the target from the display, I think, in 6 seconds or something, or 10 seconds or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But if it knows it's got a missile in air towards a specific target, it will continue predicting that target for, I think, up to 60 seconds or something to that effect, even if it does lose lock, tracking on that target. But yeah, as I said, I'm not aware of any indication of time until pitbull or anything like that.
And I think there is another function where the Rio can set the missiles to active. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. There is a switch that the Rio has as well, which is basically functions similar to that bore sight switch that I mentioned that the pilot has.
And a last one is, I think, if you fire it in PSTT at a certain range, it also goes immediately active, correct?
Yes, that's correct. In pulse Doppler single target track, the missile is still kind of controlled by the F-14, but in the pulse mode, the F-14 doesn't really have data link to the missile anymore. So in pulse single target track, which is anyway a much shorter lock mode, the F-14 basically commands the seeker on the missile to be slave to the line of sight of the radar at launch time. So it already looks in the correct direction for the target, and as you say, it goes active immediately in that mode as well.
So as you guys see, there are a lot of cool possibilities in order to fire the AIM-54 in an active mode under specific circumstances, or to have it guided more by the F-14 radar at the same time. So you have more choice actually in how the AIM-54 is going to be deployed, contrary to the AIM-120, which is always basically the same. There's been a couple other questions. Maybe one question has been, I can answer that, will we have an extensive manual pre-release or on release? Yes, definitely. We're planning to have the manual for you guys ready and more or less finished already on release, or maybe even prior to that. It's not a promise, but definitely the plans are there, and we're working on finishing the manual. So big parts of the manual are done already, so that you guys can get crunching and learning the intricacies of the F-14 as early on as possible. Another question then that I'll give to you as well, Gyro, is how is the damage model of the F-14 going to be?
I mean, I guess as with the VIG and the damage modeling stuff is something that will probably come more towards the end. There's not all that much done right now yet, but we do have, internally in the systems code, we do have multiple possibilities for things that can get damaged in various ways, and we do plan to have a lot of depth in that area. So, for instance, the radar will have multiple different failure modes, from things like the radar antenna transmitter failing, or the gimbal failing and not being able to move up and down and left and right anymore, or having the pulse Doppler circuitry failing, or having the tactical information display or detailed data display independently failing, and that kind of stuff. So we do plan to have a lot of depth with that, but the integration of all that into damage caused from externally from the 3D model, that stuff is not done yet.
Another thing I think which is also very interesting in terms of damage and failures, apart from the engines, you guys remember we had a big engines updates on how the failures are done in Trust We Trust. You can check that out on the ED forums. But another thing which comes into play here is also the navigation and the INS, right? the gyroscopes and so on. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got a very, very extensive simulation, I think, of the INS system, and I think, probably people that saw that update on the INS stuff will be able to see if you do a lot of heavy maneuvering and so on, your INS will get more and more out of alignment, and this affects things like if you get data link targets from an E2. It will have different positions of the target than what you think you're getting. So you might have a different picture, especially if you're getting sort of your own radar targets on your tactical information display, but you're getting those same targets from the data link. If your INS is a little bit out of alignment or a lot out of alignment, then those targets won't be overlaid anymore. Whereas normally you would get a target that looks like it's both a sensor target and a data link target. Then also things like if you don't have a proper INS solution anymore due to damage or whatever the case may be, then you basically lose various abilities. You won't be able to do track while scan anymore. You won't be able to launch missiles, Phoenix missiles in that mode anymore. You will be degraded to only having active mode, which got a significantly shorter range and all this kind of stuff. So I think there will be very many sort of exciting, in the Chinese sense of exciting, possibilities for damage, affecting your aircraft.
Is that something that's going to bother the pilot in the rear all the time, or is there possibilities to avoid that kind of stuff, or what's going to be the frequency of that?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't get shot or whatever, then things will be generally okay. And the INS stuff. I mean, it's only really if you pull maneuvers that you're not supposed to be pulling anyway. If you sort of over G and over roll and that kind of stuff, where things can get a little bit out of whack. And it's not like things will totally break down either. It's just you'll get less accurate solutions. But I mean, when I was saying the Phoenix stop working if you don't have INS anymore, that'll be more like if something has been damaged and destroyed or by battle damage and so on.
So in general, good piloting comes also into play. So the better you fly the F-14, the more you're avoiding these things, and that is kind of also an additional challenge when flying the F-14, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now we've obviously got little debug displays everywhere, which won't be in the release build and so on. But you can kind of see if you kind of fly towards the ground and do a very high G pull up and so on, you can kind of see like the INS, becoming suddenly much less accurate and so on.
Maybe we take a final question from the viewers. Is which radar sources will contribute to the data link picture?
So right now, basically, it's the data link stuff. There's a thing that they call a tactical data link system that the F-14 used or was part of the network of. And that has got an airborne tactical data link system, which is basically the E2C, and naval tactical data link system, which is your Forrestal carrier class. There's also a third one, which we've got basically no information on, called the marine tactical data link system. But this is a land-based thing, and it's unclear whether it was used much, or we didn't really have much information on it. So basically, we're just modeling contacts from the carrier and from E2C, and of course you need to tune your data link frequency to the right thing to be able to get information from that.
Right, Malte, Billy, you guys have any more questions?
I sure don't. You guys,
No,
I'm always just really appreciative that you guys come on and talk about all this stuff, and I think the viewership really appreciates it too.
Yeah, I'll just mirror what Moltar said there. I really enjoy getting to hear all this stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, so basically you guys can see that the simulation of the F-14 really goes in depth as much as it can. I mean, it's probably one of those air-to-air modules that is going to be, modeled to an amount of realism that has never been seen before, and that goes through all the aspects the F-14 has. I mean, radar, data link, INS, and so on, engine failures, and it's going to give a good challenge to all the players, in my opinion. Not only to deal with failures as something that's bugging them, but also to fly it as it was supposed to, and to really experience how it was to fly the F-14 in real life, and how to deal with these kind of intricacies it has, and also to show good pilotship in order to be able to operate the F-14 at its full capacity. There was one question, so on F-14 to F-14 data link, Gyro answered that. I'll just repeat that, yes, F-14s will have data link targets from other F-14s. And maybe, Molta, now we can move on to the giveaway, right?
Yeah, I think we can do the giveaway. If you don't mind answering like 1 or 2 questions, I'm going to turn the giveaway on, and they'll have like 3 minutes to enter it, just so we have something to talk about while they're doing that. So guys, I'm going to open the giveaway. The command to enter the giveaway is going to be !Heatblur. It's going to look like this. Don't enter yet because it's not open yet. You will see a message when it comes up. But here it is. We're opening it now. So you guys,
I have a question too. Maybe you guys could elaborate, on the ejection seat process, especially with something like multi-crew. Like, how is that going to work? Say we're hit, we're going down, we need to eject. What is the procedure for that between the 2 players in there?
That's a funny question. You will hear that from the answer, but I'll let Gyrovec answer that.
Yeah, I mean, so both the pilot and the Rio have got some control over the ejection sequence, obviously. There's actually a little lever in the back that the Rio controls, which determines whether if he ejects, whether it automatically triggers the pilot ejecting or only himself ejecting. And if that lever is in the position where it would eject both, then the Rio, if he ejects, he will be ejected, I think, first, and I think 100 or 200 milliseconds later, the pilot will get ejected. And I think someone recently posted that video with that, was it Cara Hultgreen or something, where she got killed. And that was the same situation in that video. The Rio ejected and managed to have a trajectory above the water, and by the time the pilot was ejected, she unfortunately went straight into the water and got killed.
Interesting. Oh, that's answered my question to a T. I was under the impression that it worked along the lines of that. It was awesome to hear you guys have it modeled in like that too. That's cool.
Yeah, so basically, whatever we could get information on, and I think we have the most extensive selection of information on the F-14 to date, apart from the Navy, of course, but all that is there more or less has been modeled to a realistic extent. I think there was also a story where a colonel was taken for a drive in the F-14, and during some maneuvers, he was unfortunately holding on to the ejection seat, and it wasn't set so that the pilot would command who ejects or not, and he ejected himself. Is that correct, Gyro, or am I fantasizing about something here?
I vaguely recall a story like that as well, but I can't remember the details. It sounds familiar.
Frankly, I believe I read this story on an aviation blog within the last week or 2, and I think there's actually a photo of that guy, the pilot, flying back with no canopy, if my memory serves me correctly on that. I could be wrong.
That sounds familiar to me as well, yes.
Yeah,
great story.
It's kind of more a funny story because luckily nobody got injured during that. But you can imagine the pilot's surprise, taking Colonel for a ride, and boom, he ejects out of the back. I mean, yeah, that must be a really shocking experience.
All of a sudden, where'd he go?
Navy captain, Turkey driver, corrected us there. Thank you from the VF 213. Thank you, Turkey driver, for that update.
Yes, indeed.
And good luck to everybody. So Gyro's got to run. Do we have a winner so Gyro can announce him quickly before he jumps off?
Well, what's going to end up happening is we're on a 30-second delay, but I'll send Gyro the winner, but he can actually read it in chat because it's going to broadcast in chat since I'm using a bot just to make it so we don't cheat. So if Gyro just wants... Gyro, are you reading Twitch chat?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you'll see the winner pop up in Twitch chat. So I'll go ahead and close the giveaway now. So
Good luck, everybody.
and there's your winner. So it should be broadcast right there.
Where'd who go?
Do you see it, Gyro?
I don't see it yet.
Should be coming shortly.
It's there. I can see it.
Hasn't popped up for me yet.
Okay, apparently the winner is Max XSTV.
So Max STV, if you don't mind, either, well, you can probably just PM me on Discord, and we'll get that all sorted out for you. Does that work for you, Iron Mike?
Absolutely, or he PMs me on. I mean, we'll keep track. We have so far Empirical Madman, and then who was it the last time? Jesus, I forgot the name.
I don't remember who the last one was. I can look back through my Discord PMs, or I think he PM'd you on the...
He PM'd me. I have all the names written down. So in any case, Max's TV, please PM Moltar, and if you can also PM me on ED forums. Congratulations for winning the F14. Pretty sure you're going to enjoy it, and I think at this point we can say goodbye to Gyro because he really has got to run. Thank you a lot, Gyro, for answering all these interesting, giving us these interesting details, and for answering all the questions. I think it was a really good insight into the radar and its intricacies, and a lot more on the F14. And thank you very much.
I hope the breaking up and the funny South African accent didn't affect it too much, but yeah, it was a pleasure.
No, you got the audio sorted and everything at the end. You were great.
Absolutely, it was fun chatting with you.
And the South African accent is just mighty sexy.
Indeed.
So thank you, Gyro, for being with us and connecting with the community here. And of course, we will have another giveaway before the finals, guys. So stay tuned and check back in. And also thank you, Gyro, for your brilliant work at Heatblur Simulations, and which we all, by the way, will enjoy very soon, guys. We're not given any date yet here, but as we said, it's going to be 2018 for sure. So all of you will be able to test out all what Gyro told you today in a very, very short time in the F14 yourselves.
Hey guys,
I'm excited.
I just want to thank you again, Iron Mike and Gyro, for coming on and taking your time to talk to the community, talk to us. I know everybody, like you said, to reiterate, is really excited about the F14. You guys take your time to interact with the community, give modules away, and it's just, I think I speak for the community that it's nice to have a developer in DCS like you guys. So thank you again for everything that you guys have done so far. And thanks for taking your time to come chat with us today.
Yep, definitely appreciate it. Definitely enjoy seeing all the beautiful stuff you guys create.
So, guys, we're going to wrap it up there.
User disconnected
again,
from your
thank
channel.
Thanks to Heatblur for coming out and hanging out with us. It's always a great time having them out here with us, but it's always a great time. So thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. It was a great match between CNF and TAW. TAW takes it 2-1. We had the great interview of Heatblur talking about the radar of the F14, giving a module away, and Max STV wins and takes home a free Tomcat module when that comes out. Again, it's been fun. We got a new match next week, 1300 Zulu on Saturday. SF versus RVE. That's another matchup that's going to decide and be very decisive for Group B. And then we take a month off. The final tournament will start August 6th, right before the announcement coming from Heatblur. And that's all she wrote. Sorry, October 6th. And that's all she wrote. Awesome. Iron Mike, do you have anything to say closing before we go?
No, apart from congratulations TAW, and congratulations Chinese Festival for giving us a great show as well, of course. And thank you to all the viewers for coming in. And congratulations again to Max's TV for the F14. And special thanks, of course, to you, Malter and Billy, for the extremely brilliant hosting and streaming work. We couldn't enjoy it more, so thanks to everybody and enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
Billy, anything for you?
No, I think we're good. I think congrats to Chinese Festival and TAW, like everyone else has been saying, for wrapping up a good season. I think they finished out their year strong and set themselves up for a good playoff run. So I'm excited for the playoffs, guys, and excited for next week. I think next week's going to be a really good matchup. Hoping to see everybody there.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, real quick, just to catch up on follows and stuff. Fabio, Zenlira, Prophet, Hornet, Voodoo, Icefire, X-Ray, and Hammer, thanks for the follows. And Hammer66 subscribed and Prime. Thanks, man. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed the show. It's been a good time. Catch us again next week. 1300 Zulu SF versus RVE. Until then, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you guys next week.
See you.
Bye bye.